The story begins at a sunlit high school. Inside, a black-haired boy uses a trembling friend as a prop for a picture, complaining about his weight while another friend snaps photos to send later. A teacher yells furiously into his phone, ordering someone not to lie in the hallway. The teacher confronts the students, telling the top student, Seongpyo, that he should be setting an example, while Seongpyo playfully apologizes. Seongpyo, known for not being a model student, smirks and invites everyone to an internet cafe to place bets after school. In class, Seongpyo laughs at a video on his friend's phone until the teacher suddenly calls on him to answer a question. Seongpyo correctly answers a complex science question, recalling that he must have read it somewhere, earning the teacher's approval. Later, he effortlessly prepares for a slam dunk in basketball. As others admit, he excels at everything far too easily. Wham! A hand slams down on a report card as a voice demands, "When are you gonna pull yourself together?" Seongpyo's older brother, Seonggion, confronts him at his desk over his poor grades. Seongpyo scoffs, reminding his brother that he also struggled when he first started university. A flashback begins, recalling the results of his second mock exam. His brother scolds him for placing 8th, but Seongpyo is shocked, as it was the first time he'd ever actually studied, and a chill runs down his spine. In the present, Seongpyo struggles to remain calm under the pressure. He laments that he can no longer fool around and turns down a friend's offer to play games, explaining that his dad cut off his allowance. His eyes narrow with a low growl of determination. Now focused, Seongpyo studies diligently in the classroom, resolved to overcome his struggles. His friends notice his new dedication, whispering that he must have fought with his dad, and decide to leave him to study. Students bustle around the school bulletin board to check the new rankings. As his friends celebrate his impressive rank, Seongpyo smirks, confident he will finally be number 1. His confident expression suddenly falters. The list reveals Ryu Jamon in first place, with Oh Seongpyo in second. Stunned, Seongpyo can only think, "Second?" As a chill washes over him. He seethes, wondering who this Ryu Jamon is that has beaten him again. Other students gossip that Jamon has held the top spot since middle school. Just then, a student greets Jamon as he arrives to see the board. The camera focuses on the back of Jamon's school uniform. Jamon is immediately surrounded by admiring classmates, one of whom sighs in jealousy. Jamon smiles humbly, acting embarrassed by the praise and asking what rank he achieved. Seongpyo watches from a distance, realizing this is his rival, Ryu Jamon. With the ranking list visible, Jamon lets out a subtle, knowing smirk. Seeing Jamon's calm smile, Seongpyo thinks menacingly. This little Seongpyo grits his teeth, annoyed that Jamon looks like he completely expected to win. Jamon turns and catches Seongpyo staring, causing Seongpyo to flinch in panic. As Jamon tilts his head in confusion, Seongpyo flinches again, completely rattled. Teask, blushing with humiliation, Seongpyo quickly turns and tells his friends it's time to go. He storms off down the hall, a friend calling after him to wait up. Jamon jokingly offers to teach a friend how to study, while others whisper about how unfair it is for someone so handsome to also be a genius. The whispers follow Jamon, mentioning he gets scouted by entertainment agencies, and that it's time to go play games now. Seongpyo listens to the hushed gossip with a stoic expression. His gaze intensifies, filled with renewed resolve. Time passes, marked by an empty school hallway in autumn. The rankings remained unchanged. Jamon always took first, while Seongpyo was forever second. Seongpyo's hand clenches into a tight fist as he curses his frustration. A classmate tells Seongpyo about Jamon's privileged background, professor parents, and an expensive, famous tutor. Seongpyo scoffs dismissively, convinced Jamon's success is just bought with money. A close-up shows Jamon's calm, downcast eyes. The view shifts to Jamon's subtle, confident smile. Gritting his teeth, Seongpyo internally fumes that Jamon's expression screams of superiority. A heavy downpour begins to fall over the city. Step, Seongpyo walks in the rain, wishing he were home. He answers a call from his energetic brother, who drunkenly begs him to bring an umbrella to the subway station for 50,000 won, an offer Seongpyo can't refuse. Looking at his phone, he notes he only has 3% battery left. Rummage, he searches his bag, glad he brought his power bank. Wham! He collides hard with someone, letting out a grunt. Clack. His phone and power bank fall to the wet ground, as the person he hit cries out in alarm for their own phone. The person he ran into, Jamon, glances up and begins to apologize. Standing in the rain, Seongpyo and Jamon stare at each other in confusion. Jamon apologizes to Seongpyo, explaining he's in a hurry for the academy as he quickly grabs a phone from the ground. Dash! Jamon runs off, leaving Seongpyo watching him go. Seongpyo eyes the building, thinking it looks too rundown to be a fancy academy. Sighing, he grumbles that Jamon could have at least picked up his phone too before reaching down for it. His eyes widen as he notices something is off. Holding the device, he realizes the lock screen is wrong and wonders if he accidentally picked up Jamon's phone. Ding! A notification suddenly appears on the screen. It's a comment notification from a social media app, piquing his curiosity. He starts to tap the phone, thinking he might find the name of Jamon's famous tutor on the app. Oops! A sudden flash illuminates his face as he accidentally presses the wrong thing. He quickly glances around, hoping no one saw the bright light. Bait him. His heart pounds and he flushes beet red, utterly shocked by what he sees on the screen. The rain pours down on the first place math academy. Jamon arrives just as class is about to start, greeting the receptionist. He blames the rain for his tardiness and hands over a red phone as requested before heading inside. Bustle, he settles into his seat in the busy classroom. Pause. His eyes narrow in thought. He realizes his own phone's battery must have died when he dropped it, meaning he just handed in someone else's phone. He puts his bag down, thinking it's better this way, as it would have been bad if Seongpyo saw his screen. The scene shifts to tall, modern apartment buildings against a darkening evening sky. Creak. Jamon arrives home, announcing his return. A woman's voice welcomes Jamon back as he responds quietly. The woman explains she has a headache and would appreciate some quiet. Jamon asks if she's all right, and she confirms she is, mentioning she heard about his exam. He tells her the results are out tomorrow, wondering how she always knows his schedule. Announcing he needs a shower after getting caught in the rain, he walks away. Creak. Feeling refreshed, Jamon exits his room in clean pajamas, drying his hair. He finds his phone and decides to charge it. Placing the phone on a shelf to charge, he plans to review his mistakes while it powers up. Tick-tock. Time passes as he studies at his desk. Tap, he finishes his work for the night. Deciding to check a photo he uploaded, he grabs the phone from the shelf. Jolt, his eyes fly open in sudden realization. Thump, he stares at the unfamiliar lock screen, his heart sinking as he realizes this isn't his phone. Thump! The horrible truth dawns on him in a wave of panic. A flashback shows the moment he collided with Seongpyo. He remembers hastily grabbing a phone from the puddle-strewn ground. Whoosh! Back in the present, he frantically opens his laptop. Tap, 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 he types rapidly, his mind racing in denial. Ding, ding, ding! His laptop is suddenly bombarded with a stream of notifications. He sees hundreds of notifications on the social media app and clicks, his dread growing. Flash! The post is a revealing photo of a man's torso, and the comment section is a chaotic storm of insults, thirsty replies, and arguments, with users viciously debating his wealth and age. Thump, thump, thump. Jamon's heart pounds in his chest as the panic sets in. A flashback begins, recalling that he started this all by chance. In the classroom, a friend asks Jamon if he uses social media, while another notes they've never seen him on any apps. Haha, Jamon smiles politely, claiming he doesn't really have anything to post. His friends encourage him to try it, insisting it's fun to look at other people's posts and keep up with trends. As his friends banter, Jamon quietly considers their suggestion, wondering if he should try it. He recalls opening an account and typing out a post about his exhaustion and controlling parents, only to repeatedly delete it. Later, while browsing his phone in his pajamas, he decides he needs a new pair of sneakers. FWIP, he scrolls through an online store but finds all the shoes look similar to what he already owns. FWIP, he continues scrolling until he pauses on a suggestive photo of a man's torso with the caption, "Got new shoes." Jolt! Startled by the photo, he gasps and glances around his room nervously. Blushing, he covers his mouth in shock, surprised that people post half-naked photos. Tug. Inspired, he takes a picture of his own torso with a snap of his phone's camera. Tick. The upload completes, and a satisfied smirk spreads across his face. Back in the present, a chill runs through him as he panics, wondering what he should do. His heart throbs as the terrible reality sinks in, questioning if Seongpyo saw everything, and what is happening. Knock knock. A sudden knock on his door makes him flinch at his desk. Creak. A man in a red robe enters, asking why he's on his laptop so late, as Jamon quickly lies about checking online lectures. The man hums skeptically as Jamon turns the laptop screen away from view. The man places a hand on his shoulder, advising him to turn off his computer and get some rest. Jamon forces a smile and agrees, saying he was just about to turn it off. Clack, the moment the man leaves, he immediately turns back to his laptop. Tap, tap. He confirms the deletion of his TNT social media account. Later in bed, he fidgets anxiously, wondering how to face Seongpyo at school tomorrow. He clenches his fist, trying to reassure himself that since there's no proof, he can just deny everything. His anxiety peaks as he worries what will happen if Seongpyo, who already dislikes him, finds out the truth. The next day at school, Seongpyo spots Jamon and lets out a quiet, "Ah." Jamon grits his teeth, his expression hardening as they see each other. The scene flashes back to Seongpyo in bed the previous night, blushing and clutching his blanket in agitation. A sharp, fleeting transition marks the passage of time. Now relaxing in his room, Seongpyo grumbles that Jamon deleted the account when he still had more comments to write. He sits up, a sudden thought striking him. He thinks about Jamon's innocent act at school versus his provocative online persona, and his eye twitches in confusion, wondering what his deal is. Students bustle into the school building the next morning. Jamon nervously clenches the collar of his uniform. He hesitates by the gate, thinking he can't bring himself to go inside. A friend claps him on the shoulder, asking what he's doing, and Jamon stammers in response. His friends note he's late and dash inside to escape the cold. Jamon quietly follows them into the hallway. He overhears another student asking if Seongpyo lost his phone. Elsewhere, Seongpyo's friends complain he ghosted them, and he vaguely jokes that his phone must have been stolen. As Jamon walks past Seongpyo's group, a friend greets him, but he just says he'll see them later. Seongpyo and Jamon share a tense, silent glance. Seongpyo nonchalantly tells his friends the phone's battery was dead, so there's no point in calling it. He waves his hand dismissively, saying he'll just buy a new one since his contract was almost up. With a sideways glance, he adds that he has nothing to hide on his phone anyway. Jamon hears the pointed remark and grits his teeth. He silently turns and walks away down the hall. Now in class, Jamon debates, pretending he has no idea about the phone swap, recalling Seongpyo said losing it didn't matter. He fidgets anxiously, worrying that Seongpyo might spread rumors about him anyway. Jamon considers just saying he found his phone to resolve the situation. Grah. A friend suddenly confronts Jamon at his desk, startling him. The friend notes Jamon's been spacing out, so he apologizes and says he's skipping lunch. As his friends leave, Jamon admits to himself he has no appetite because of Seongpyo. Rattled, he decides he needs some milk to be able to focus. Clink. He buys a carton of Jinwol milk for 600 won. Deciding to drink it in the classroom, he heads back from the store. He flinches upon seeing Seongpyo and his friends laughing at a phone. His heart thumps as he wonders why they keep meeting. Seongpyo's friend casually mentions that people post online about wanting bread from the store. Jolt! Another friend turns and asks Jamon if he uses social media. Fidgeting nervously, Jamon sips his milk, too anxious to leave because of Seongpyo. Seongpyo's friends discuss their own social media use, with both saying they're not very active anymore. Seongpyo smirks, saying he's curious about social media after seeing someone use it. Jamon sighs in annoyance, realizing Seongpyo is toying with him. The scene transitions with a blur of motion. Bustle. Students head to classroom 1 to 4, one complaining about the room change. Inside, students settle down and make plans to play basketball after class. Pop. A friend asks Seongpyo about his missing phone, blaming their basketball loss on being unable to contact him. Seongpyo smirks, resting his chin on his fist with a smug look. As Jamon walks by, a student comments that Seongpyo isn't getting a new phone. Seongpyo stares directly at Jamon and calls out to him, explaining he's waiting for a new model to be released. He continues to glare intensely at Jamon. Seongpyo tells his friends he has a spare phone without a SIM card. His friend asks why he can't just activate it as Jamon listens from his desk. Seongpyo internally notes that Jamon has been ignoring him ever since their phones were switched. He fumes, wondering if Jamon is mad he was exposed and is now acting self-righteous despite his perverted online activities. He questions if Jamon is feigning ignorance, thinking he has no proof like a screenshot. He recalls the provocative photo of Jamon's torso and loosened tie. He remembers another suggestive photo, thinking about all the pervy pictures Jamon uploads. He flashes back to the app's comment section, filled with thirsty requests and Jamon's apologetic replies. As his friends tease someone for being bad at games, Seongpyo thinks they'd say the account owner looks just like Ryu Jamon. Jamon sits quietly, facing away from the group. Seongpyo decides he won't actually tell them. but questions why Jamon is ignoring him when it wasn't his fault. Clench, he grips his hand, admitting he was just trying to get a reaction and calling Jamon a shameless asshole. He asks his friends if he can report someone for not returning found property, confusing them. The teacher arrives, telling the class to settle down so they can begin. The teacher calls Seongpyo to the front of the classroom. Trudge, the teacher, asks him to move a stack of heavy boxes to the reference room. Seongpyo complains, but the teacher dismisses him, saying he has to leave for the faculty room. The teacher then stops and calls for Ryu Jaemin, who pauses and answers. He instructs Jaemin to help Seongpyo with the boxes, noting they look like the sturdiest students. Seongpyo glances over at a hesitant Jaemin. Whoosh! The teacher thanks them and quickly departs, leaving them with the boxes. Seongpyo turns to Jaemin and tells him it's time to go. Jaemin quietly offers to take the boxes himself, telling Seongpyo to return to class. Holding both boxes, Seongpyo challenges Jaemin to lift one to prove he can handle it. Jaemin huffs, struggling to lift even a single heavy box. Seongpyo watches impatiently, telling him to hurry up. Fidgeting, Jaemin remains silent and looks downcast. Creak, they both carry a box each as they head into the teacher's resource room. Step, Jaemin follows Seongpyo into the resource room, each carrying a box. Clack, Jaemin reaches back and locks the doorknob behind them. Seongpyo glances over his shoulder, shocked and suspicious that Jaemin just locked the door. Tap, Seongpyo ignores it for a moment and places his box on a high shelf. Slide, he pushes the heavy box firmly into place. Jaemin watches him, thinking he needs to stay wary and not fall for whatever Seongpyo is planning. Breaking the silence, Seongpyo calls out to get his attention. He turns and confronts Jaemin, demanding to know why he's been avoiding him for days. Jaemin flinches, caught off guard by the direct question. Playing dumb, Jaemin nervously asks what Seongpyo expected him to say. Seongpyo glares, internally cursing him for being so shameless. He frowns, asking how long Jaemin intends to keep his stolen phone. In the empty storeroom, Jaemin apologizes and claims he keeps forgetting to bring the phone from home. He takes a hesitant step forward. He then questions why Seongpyo isn't looking for the phone himself if he needs it so badly. Rummage, Jaemin digs into his pocket and asks if Seongpyo is talking about his own phone. FWIP. He pulls out a red phone and coolly states that he never lost it. Seongpyo smirks, disbelievingly asking if Jaemin really didn't lose his phone. Jaemin doubles down on the lie, insisting the red phone is his and he's been using it for over a year. A smirk plays on Seongpyo's lips as he realizes Jaemin is putting on a front and decides to test his resolve. Shrugging dramatically, Seongpyo feigns relief, saying the phone he found must belong to someone else and that he hasn't lost anything. He then slyly asks if it's okay to show the homeroom teacher the photos from that phone, causing Jaemin to nervously question what photos he means. Seongpyo continues to taunt him, suggesting it might be more fun to send them to the group chat for everyone to see. Jaemin sweats, still pretending not to understand what photos Seongpyo is talking about. Seongpyo scoffs at his acting, revealing he took screenshots and that anyone can tell it's him, even with his face hidden. Looking away, Jaemin stubbornly insists that Seongpyo has mistaken him for someone else. Wham! Seongpyo slams his hand against the shelf right next to Jaemin's head. Gritting his teeth, he leans in close and snarls that Jaemin is a fantastic actor. Pinned against the shelf, Jaemin weakly maintains his innocence, saying he doesn't know what Seongpyo means. FWIP, Seongpyo pulls back dismissively, saying he should have just gone ahead and exposed him since Jaemin clearly doesn't care. Jaemin defiantly tells him to do whatever he wants, but then pleads for him to stop being angry so they can clear the air. Grr. Seongpyo fumes internally, marveling at Jaemin's Oscar-worthy performance. Turning his back, Seongpyo warns him to be prepared, saying he won't regret ignoring him and taking his things. Jaemin finally snaps, shouting that Seongpyo has the wrong person and questioning why he's the target of his anger. Seongpyo mutters that he's getting pissed off, admitting he only intended to tease him a little, but is now genuinely angry. Jaemin grits his teeth, realizing Seongpyo won't back down and that their break is almost over. Changing his approach, Jaemin turns and accuses Seongpyo of having an ulterior motive, telling him to just state what he wants. Jaemin guesses Seongpyo is upset about his academic ranking and offers his notes, but Seongpyo denies wanting them. Growing desperate, Jaemin even offers to intentionally fail a mock exam for him. Yank! Enraged, Seongpyo grabs Jaemin's uniform. He pulls Jaemin close, gritting his teeth as he threatens to kill him if he says another word. Bang, bang. A teacher pounds on the locked door, demanding to know why it's locked and telling them to come out for class. Tisk, Seongpyo clicks his tongue, annoyed by the interruption. He turns to leave the storeroom. Pausing at the door, he warns Jamon that their conversation isn't over. Left alone, a shaken Jamon anxiously fidgets with his tie. Gong! The bell rings as Songpyo and other students head back to class through the crowded hallway. Greek. Seongpyo opens the classroom door. He stands in the doorway and calls out, Ryu Jamon, outside. Now, students murmur among themselves, wondering when Seongpyo and Jamon became close, as Jamon looks up from his desk in shock. Their confrontation continues inside the teacher's resource room. Leaning against a shelf, Seongpyo asks Jamon if he'd do anything he asked. Jamon nervously agrees to do anything doable, just wanting to end the scary situation. Seongpyo smirks, telling him to stop acting scared. Flinch, Jamon recoils at his sharp tone, glancing. Seongpyo's eyes narrow as he watches him. As Seongpyo begins his request, the focus shifts to Jamon's loosened tie. Seongpyo smirks and asks if Jamon would take off his clothes for him. Flinch, Jamon looks up in shock, questioning what he heard. Seongpyo's smug smile widens. Jamon looks away, asking if Seongpyo is insane. Smirking, Seongpyo suggests the reason Jamon uploaded those photos was to try something like this. He continues to grin, enjoying the moment. The two stand in tense silence amidst the storeroom shelves. Jamon grows flustered, struggling to find the right words. Seongpyo laughs, saying Jamon's panicked expression is what he wanted to see, and asking why he's so quiet. Clench, Jamon's fist tightens in frustration. Seongpyo sighs, asking if his silence means he won't do it. Jamon pleads with him to stop the bullying, insisting he's not the person he's looking for. Smirk, Seongpyo internally mocks him, wondering where his shameless confidence went, and thinking this is his true character. He tells Jamon to stop acting helpless, claiming he would have ignored everything if Jamon hadn't provoked him. When Jamon asks how he provoked him, Seongpyo angrily scoffs at his dedication to grades, claiming he doesn't need to try so hard. Glare, Seongpyo states that he couldn't care less about being outranked in school. Flinch, Jamon quickly apologizes, saying he didn't mean to make him feel bad. Seongpyo dismisses the apology, ordering him to just do as he says so he won't spread the photos. Chuckle, he warns Jamon to hurry up before their break ends, beginning a countdown. Sniffle, Jamon's shoulders slump as he begins to cry quietly. Seongpyo looks genuinely surprised, asking if he's actually crying. Hick, Jamon wipes his eyes, sobbing that Seongpyo has it all wrong. Watching him, Seongpyo internally curses at the sight of his tears. Chills. A look of cold disgust crosses Seongpyo's face as he calls Jamon despicable. He tells the crying Jamon to stop, calling him a loser who didn't do anything right. Grab. Jamon suddenly lunges forward, gripping Seongpyo's wrist and shouting for him to stop. His eyes are now filled with a cold, focused anger. Seongpyo is momentarily stunned into silence. Wobble. Jamon grabs Seongpyo's collar and Seongpyo angrily accuses him of faking his tears. Thwack! Jamon forcefully slaps Seongpyo's hand away. Tap, tap. Jamon taps the red phone against Seongpyo's chest, who demands to know what he's doing. Jolt. Seongpyo's eyes widen as Jamon coldly turns his own words back on him, asking if he'd do anything he was asked to. Jamon reveals he's been recording their entire conversation, demanding Seongpyo act like a stripper for him, just as he'd suggested. Beep. Jamon stops the recording, calmly stating that Seongpyo blackmailed him, and the recording makes it sound much worse. Chills, a stunned Seongpyo asks if he really recorded them as Jamon explains that he had to get leverage of his own after being provoked. The phone screen displays the completed recording, a silent testament to Jamon's counterattack. A panicked Seongpyo calls him crazy, threatening to release the photos if Jamon shares the recording. Jamon points out that while the photos lack proof, the voice on the recording is undeniably Seongpyo's. HMPH. Seongpyo challenges him, asking if he's really willing to go down with him. Jamon smiles confidently, assuring him he has no intention of going down alone. Glance. Seongpyo looks away, utterly defeated by the sudden reversal. As a clock ticks on the wall, Jamon reminds him that their break is almost over. Seongpyo glares, furiously refusing to leave the room with him. Suit yourself, and turns to leave. Step, step. Seongpyo walks away, beginning to question who he's dealing with. Shudder? He covers his mouth, realizing with a chill who Jamon truly is. He suddenly panics, remembering he forgot to get his phone back. Chatter, chatter. The scene shifts to the bustling cafeteria as students get their lunch. A friend invites Jamon to a basketball game, but he declines, claiming he's bad at sports, though another friend calls him out on the lie. Lean, a student from another class approaches their table to discuss the basketball match. FWIP. As they discuss the game time, one boy mentions a teammate bailed, catching Jamon's attention. A smiling student greets Seongpyo, who grimaces in annoyance, thinking it just had to be him. Announcing he's going to the library, Jamon gets up to leave the table. From Jamon's perspective, he recalls Seongpyo's sarcastic taunts during lunch and seethes internally. Seongpyo rushes after Jamon in the hallway, calling for him to wait. He abruptly stops Jamon in the empty hallway. Jamon turns around, impatiently asking what he wants now. Toss. Seongpyo throws a phone to Jamon, telling him to take it. Holding the phone, Jamon silently listens as Seongpyo tells him to bring his phone tomorrow. Seongpyo looks away, annoyed, saying this isn't fun anymore, and they should just return each other's things. Jamon looks on in profile, questioning Seongpyo's change of heart by mentioning the screenshots. Seongpyo offers to delete the screenshots, admitting they both have leverage with the voice recording, and suggests they end things quickly. Jamon recalls that Seongpyo only did it to tease him. Resting his head on his hand, Seongpyo insists he won't bring it up again and just wants his phone back. Jamon's glare hardens as he remembers Seongpyo's blackmail attempt. Jamon angrily asks if Seongpyo really thinks he can do whatever he wants. Seongpyo smirks, challenging him and asking if he doesn't want to end things. Jamon internally fumes, acknowledging the photos were his fault, but questioning why he's being treated like a criminal. Clench, he realizes Seongpyo was just taking out his rage on him, and is only backing down now that he's also in trouble. Sigh. Jamon closes his eyes and reluctantly agrees to get his phone tomorrow. Stare! Seongpyo calls out to him, stopping him again. Jamon turns back, confused. Seongpyo taunts him, wondering if he's an exhibitionist, which causes Jamon to flush with anger. Flustered, Jamon reminds him he was the one who said they should stop talking about it. Hey, Seongpyo playfully zips his lips, promising not to say another word, but Jamon sighs in disbelief. A voice from off-screen calls for Seongpyo, saying they're short on time. Seongpyo turns and walks away down the hall. Jamon watches him leave, remaining silent. He then turns and walks in the opposite direction. Outside the school building, Jamon sighs, glancing around the courtyard. In the library, a friend asks Jamon to run an errand, and he reluctantly agrees, annoyed he just wanted to read. Outside, Jamon spots a man in a vest and cap, realizing it must be the delivery man. The delivery man looks down at his phone, waiting. Jamon approaches and greets him, but the man suddenly shouts a warning. Whoosh! A soccer ball flies through the air towards Jamon's head. Thwack! The ball hits him square in the face. The impact is shown in a flash of black hair. Flop! Jamon tumbles to the ground, clutching his head in pain. His friends rush over, worriedly calling his name. Jamon seethes in pain, thinking, fucking hell. His friends surround him, asking if he's hurt, as he thinks to himself that of course it hurts. The other students marvel that Seongpyo kicked the ball so far, while Seongpyo protests he didn't know this would happen. FWIP, someone calls Jamon's name and picks up the paper bag he dropped. Reach, a man in a vest and cap hands a phone to a student, telling him, "Here you go, mister." The man points in alarm, exclaiming that the student's nose is bleeding, and he should go to the infirmary. Drip, Jamon touches his face, finding his fingers covered in blood from his nose. As his classmates panic and call for tissues, Seongpyo watches from the side. Seongpyo calls out to Ryu Jamin, but he turns to leave, saying he'll just go to the infirmary. Seongpyo clenches his jaw, looking annoyed as Jamon walks away. Seongpyo sprints forward and grabs Jamon's shoulder, demanding to know why he just left. Whap! Jamon angrily slaps Seongpyo's hand away with a grunt. Holding his bloody nose, Jamon accuses Seongpyo of hitting him on purpose. Seongpyo denies it, sarcastically asking if Jamon thinks he has superpowers to aim at him from far away. Pressing a hand to his nose, Jamon coldly tells Seongpyo to get lost. Seongpyo retorts that he was just trying to worry about him, questioning why Jamon didn't use his own superpowers to dodge the ball. The two glare at each other in a tense, silent standoff. Jamon turns his back, declaring he has nothing more to say to him. Seongpyo grabs his wrist, stopping him from leaving. Sighing in exasperation, Jamon asks what he wants now. Wipe, telling him to hang on, Seongpyo gently presses a white cloth to Jamon's bleeding nose. Jamon looks up in surprise as Seongpyo holds the cloth for him, telling him to take it. Rub, Seongpyo continues to carefully clean the blood from his face. Glancing while holding the cloth, Jamon peeks over at Seongpyo. Announcing the bleeding won't stop, Seongpyo takes Jamon's hand and leads him toward the infirmary. As Seongpyo leads him away, a close-up shows their hands firmly clasped together. Inside, the nurse tends to Jamon's nosebleed while Seongpyo watches with his arms crossed. Jamon glances over his shoulder and tells a surprised Seongpyo that he can leave now. FWIP, taking the bloody cloth from his nose, Jamon realizes it's a t-shirt and promises to wash it before returning it. Flinch! He recoils slightly as he examines the cloth. He holds up the garment, confirming it's a t-shirt and wondering if it's Seongpyo's. Seongpyo reaches for the shirt, telling Jamon to just give it to him despite his insistence on washing it. Smirking, Seongpyo takes the shirt, telling the nurse to give it to him so he can wash it fast, and then asking her to leave soon, making Jamon feel like he's lost. Stare. Seongpyo looks down at Jamon with a serious expression. Jolt. Jamon is startled by his intense gaze. Cough. Seongpyo suddenly starts coughing, as the nurse asks if he's getting a cold. Flustered, Seongpyo denies it and quickly leaves as the nurse waves, advising Jamon to be more careful playing soccer. Glance, Jamon looks toward the door, wondering if Seongpyo was just smiling. A side profile reveals Seongpyo's faint, knowing smile as he walks away. Alone in the infirmary, Jamon sits on a bed, looking at his reflection in a mirror. He stands in the hallway, blushing and looking completely flustered. A voice yells Seongpyo's name from behind a door, asking whose fault he thinks this is, as students outside whisper about a fight. Bottom, Jamon clutches his sweater, his heart pounding with anxiety. Creak. Back in the classroom, students discuss needing a replacement for an injured player named Hyung Seo as Jamon enters. A concerned classmate asks if Jamon is okay, having heard he went to the infirmary after getting hit by a ball from another class. Jamon laughs, brushing it off as just a nosebleed, while his friend calls him unlucky. Glance, his classmate points out a blood stain on Jamon's shirt collar. Frown, Jamon touches the stain on his collar, thinking he's pissed, as his friend calls his name. Jamon looks confused as his friends ask him to play basketball, admitting he's never played before. His classmates reassure him, saying they're not great either, and that he can practice before the game in 2 days. They explain that they need him to play center to block the tall and skilled Seongpyo. Scritch, one of his classmates, draws a quick diagram to explain the role of a center. Jamon processes the information, confirming his only job is to cover Seongpyo. A friend explains their basketball strategy, noting Seongpyo's height advantage. Chuckle, Jamon and his friends discuss game positions, with one noting they at least need to know the basics. Nod, Jamon smiles confidently, vowing to study up for the game by tomorrow. His friends are surprised he's studying basketball, but Jamon says he needs to watch videos to understand it. Rummage, a friend offers to show him some good channels on his phone. FWIP, he asks for Jamon's number so they can coordinate practice. Stare, Jamon hesitates, recalling his parents' strict rules against contacting friends. Tap, he decides to enter his number, thinking it's been a while. A classmate invites him to join their practice session after class. Jamon considers the offer, calculating if an hour is enough time before he has to go to his academy. The class celebrates Jamon's decision to play, excitedly declaring that they now have hope. During class, Jamon worries that his parents would say no if they found out. Scritch, he decides he can practice for a bit without getting caught. Drip, a memory surfaces of a dark-haired boy sweating under immense pressure. Smirk, Jamon lets out a confident smile in the present. Tap, the scene transitions to the basketball court. Tap, swoosh! During practice, a friend goes up for a shot. Spring, tap, the player leaps into the air. Whoosh! Jamon fakes out his opponent with a smirk, causing him to jump for a block that never comes. FWIP, clunk, the ball easily scores after the successful feint. His friend explains how fakes work, demonstrating that you can't jump too early. Wiping away sweat, Jamon asks to try again, this time against 2 defenders. Step, another group of students, including Seong Pro, arrives at the court. Jamon turns and cheerfully waves hello to them. A friend of Seongpyo's asks if Jamon is really joining the game, and he confirms he's a substitute. Smirk, Seongpyo looks on, intrigued that Jamin plays sports. Seongpyo's friend suggests they practice there too, but Seongpyo refuses to practice with the opposing team. PF, Seongpyo and his friend leave, telling Jamon's team to practice hard. Frown, Jamon watches them go, noting Seongpyo's confidence and telling his team to hurry up. The school building is shown against a sunset sky. Step, as Seongpyo is leaving, a friend invites him to a PC cafe, and he agrees. Jamon stops Seongpyo in the hall, asking if they can talk for a second. Their conversation continues, now taking place inside the school's storeroom. Seongpyo sighs, annoyed, asking why Jamon brought him back there. FWIP. Jamon holds out a phone, telling him, here. Tap, tap, Seongpyo smiles as he takes the phone, glad to have it back. He quickly realizes it isn't his phone, noting Jamon brought the wrong one. Jamon coolly explains he brought the phone Seongpyo gave him, and that he intentionally didn't bring Seongpyo's. Shrug, Jamon argues that their issue isn't resolved and questions how he can trust Seongpyo's promise. Seongpyo angrily calls him a psycho, and Jamon agrees they can't trust each other, so they must settle things for good. Jamon proposes that Seongpyo can keep his phone as collateral until they settle their bet. Seongpyo listens, his expression unreadable as he considers the unexpected offer. Jamon offers to write down the terms of their bet if Seongpyo doesn't believe him. Seongpyo asks what happens if Jamon's class wins, and Jamon demands the pictures be deleted and an apology for the blackmail and the soccer ball incident. Seongpyo mocks him for holding a grudge over an apology, while Jamon retorts that Seongpyo is far worse. Chuckle, Seongpyo observes that Jamon always has to have the last word. Seongpyo internally scoffs, thinking Jamon is treating the game like an exam and underestimating his years of experience. Seongpyo calls the collateral unfair and suggests adding another condition to their bet. A wary Jamon asks what the new condition might be. Doom. Seongpyo grins and suggests the loser gets flicked on the forehead 10 times. Chills, Jamon finds the idea of finger flicks incredibly childish. Seongpyo taunts Jamon about being scared, warning that he's hurt someone before, but Jamon angrily accepts the bet, insisting Seongpyo can't take it back now. Jamon glares, asking if blackmail is a hobby for him and calling him childish. Flint Seongpyo hovers his fingers above Jamon's forehead, ominously declaring, "You're dead now." Whack. Jamon smacks his hand away as Seongpyo tells him to practice, though he'll lose anyway. Step. Seongpyo walks away, leaving a silent Jamon standing alone. Jamon brushes his hair back with a frustrated sigh. Chatter echoes across the bustling school grounds. Tap, sitting on the stairs. Jamon impatiently drums his fingers while someone yells to pass the ball. Rattle, a basketball hits the rim. Wham! With focused intensity, Jamon slams the ball through the hoop. His friends approach in disbelief, asking if this is really his first time playing. Watching from a distance, Seongpyo overhears his friends call Jamon a genius who could get scouted. Spring, he stands up as someone announces that time is up. Another group of students arrives, telling Jamon's team that their 20 minutes are over. Not wanting to leave just yet, his friends suggest watching the other team for a while. One of his friends notices Seongpyo on the court and calls out to Jamon. Seongpyo smirks, telling Jamon to put his jacket on because he won't go easy on him. Jamon snaps back, annoyed, asking why he cares if he gets a cold. Whisper. Other students gossip about how surprisingly good Ryu Jamon is for a first-timer. Seongpyo dismisses Jamon's skill and orders his own team to stop chatting and practice. A teammate comments on the intense mind games being played. As the game starts, players yell to block Seongpyo from reaching the basket. Tap, step, Seongpyo quickly dribbles the ball, maneuvering on the court. Toss, faking out a defender. He passes the ball to a teammate. Whoosh! His teammate takes the shot, desperately hoping it goes in. Clang! The ball bounces off the rim, and players dash to get the rebound. Grab! Seongpyo secures the ball as the opposing team yells not to let him have it. Dash! A teammate runs ahead, planning to cover Seongpyo from the front. Seongpyo calmly positions himself for a long-distance shot. Rustle! The ball sinks perfectly through the net. Murmur! His teammates watch in awe, one exclaiming how clean the three-pointer was. Clap! Seongpyo high-fives a teammate while Jamon frowns, realizing he might be in trouble. Wham! With impressive power, Seongpyo dunks the ball, amazing the onlookers. With a determined look, Jamon thinks he might not be able to win against him. Tap. A friend pats Jamon's shoulder, asking why he's so serious and telling him they can still win. Jamon turns away, sighing while claiming he isn't worried. Step, Seongpyo walks through the school grounds after the game. He looks up at the building, wondering if today is the game against Class 2. Dismissing his worries, he reassures himself that his team will obviously win. He stops, surprised to see Jamon practicing alone on the court. Jamon concentrates, raising his arms to take a shot. Rattle, the ball bounces off the rim, missing the basket. Dash. He sighs in frustration after the missed shot. Seongpyo watches from a distance, muttering that it was a three-pointer attempt. Step, step. He walks onto the court as Jamon retrieves the ball. Seongpyo playfully teases Jamon for practicing so hard, joking he could be on the national team. Jamon explains that since he's not very good, the least he can do is practice for his team. Seongpyo tells him no one in class 2 is that good anyway, then questions why he's practicing three-pointers. "'Cause I can," Jamon retorts, internally fuming at Seongpyo's short and irritating answers. Seongpyo offers to teach Jamon how to play, but Jamon just looks at him with suspicion. With a toss and a swoosh, Seongpyo demonstrates a perfect shot. He explains Jamon's form is wrong, telling him he's using too much force and shouldn't hold the ball with 2 hands. Smack, smack, he adjusts Jamon's knee, instructing him to use his whole body and keep loose. FWIP, Jamon focuses, recalling the instructions to support with his left and push with his right. Toss, swoosh, he shoots, and the ball goes straight through the net. Grab, Jamon stands in disbelief that it went in, while Seongpyo smugly says, "Told you," as he picks up his bag. Tug, Seongpyo slings his bag over his shoulder, telling Jamon to take it easy before the others arrive. Jamon quietly agrees, holding the basketball as he watches Seongpyo leave. Sigh, Seongpyo walks away, thinking Jamon is too stubborn and should be practicing layups instead of three-pointers. He reflects with a surprised that Jamon is taking practice so seriously, wondering if that's the secret to being the top student. With a jolt, a flustered Seongpyo catches himself, blushing as he wonders what he's thinking. Whisper. Whisper. As Seongpyo walks down the hall, he overhears other students gossiping about Jamon playing in the upcoming game. FWIP. FWIP. A teacher gestures for Seongpyo to come over. Lin, Seongpyo's homeroom teacher, whispers conspiratorially, asking if he made a bet with the other teacher. Smack, the teacher playfully hits Seongpyo's back, promising him a treat for winning, as Seongpyo realizes he did make a bet. The scene is set 5 minutes before the after-school basketball game. On the court, Jamon and Seongpyo face off with their teammates under a sunset sky. Seongpyo smirks, taunting Jamon about the forehead-flicking bet, but Jamon calmly retorts that he was about to say the same thing. Tap. The game begins as the basketball is tossed into the air. A player's arm stretches toward the ball, poised for the tip-off. Fweet! The ref's whistle blows, signaling Class 4 has the ball, as onlookers praise Seongpyo's height advantage. Chatter, chatter. A large crowd of students watches intently, wondering how the teams will play under so much pressure. Onlookers note that, as predicted, Jamon is playing center specifically to guard Seongpyo. Jamon glares with determination, knowing he has to mark Seongpyo, their team's main scorer. Seongpyo smirks confidently, doubting a first-timer like Jamon can match him. Flap, the scoreboard shows a lopsided score as a frustrated player demands the ball, determined to get through. Fleet. With a quick dash, a player dribbles the ball down the court. Tap, tap. Whoosh, Seongpyo easily moves in, blocking the player's path. The crowd murmurs, impressed that Seongpyo is playing defense in the middle and completely shutting his opponent down. Dash. The player tries to break through, but pauses, completely halted by Seongpyo's intimidating defense. The player sweats, frustrated that he can't get past him at all. Snatch. Seongpyo deftly steals the ball, leaving the other player yelping in surprise. With a jolt, Seongpyo dashes away with the ball, as his opponents flinch, realizing they're all bunched up. Dash. Jamon chases after him, realizing with dread that Seongpyo is just too fast. Whoosh. Seongpyo leaps gracefully and scores another basket. Whoa. The spectators erupt, amazed by Seongpyo's skill and declaring that Class 2 stands no chance. Sweet. Jamon remembers his team's instructions to just stay under the basket since he's tall. He recalls someone mentioning that Seongpyo finds playing under the basket boring. Seongpyo taunts him for not touching the ball, but Jamon claims he's playing center defender because it's easier. Arga, a teammate, yells at another for trying to get past Seongpyo, telling him to just pass the ball instead. Grit. Jamon internally fumes, unable to believe he can't even block the arrogant prick. Grab. A player quickly passes the ball upon receiving it. Whoosh. A teammate throws the ball across the court shouting Jamon's name. Grab. Jamon secures the basketball, his expression intense. Glance. He holds the ball, ready to make his move. Jamon stands his ground, facing off against an opposing player. Tap, tap. The defender anticipates, Jamon will fake a shot and then run. Smirk, the defender, plans to ignore the first move, but Jamon swooshes past him. Jolt, the defender is stunned, suddenly recognizing the play Jamon is using. FWIP, Jamon leaps for a layup, thinking it's too straightforward. Wham! He dunks the ball for a score. Wipe. The crowd cheers wildly as Jamon smiles, wiping sweat from his chin. Seongpyo's teammates are stunned, with one complaining he couldn't block a rookie, but the player claims he just let his guard down. Jamon's teammates rush over to celebrate, praising his cool dunking skills. Fweet, swoosh! The opposing team scores a basket just as easily. Fweet, toss. The ball is thrown back into play. A teammate tells Seongpyo to switch to center, but Seongpyo complains that the position is no fun. His teammate insists, pointing out that Jamon is too tall for anyone else, and Seongpyo is the only one who can block him. Ha, Seongpyo reluctantly agrees, sighing that he's only doing it because of their bet. Step, tap, Seongpyo complains about Jamon sticking to him, but Jamon calmly replies that it's just normal defense. Turn, Seongpyo accuses Jamon of pulling his clothes and playing dirty, but Jamon mutters that he expected this and has been keeping his hands to himself, feeling strange being this close to someone. Turn, Jamon looks away, admitting to himself that the close proximity feels awkward. Bustle. The game continues at a fast pace as players call for passes. Swish, a player moves quickly on the court. Seongpyo stares down at Jamon with an intense, unreadable expression. Gulp. Flustered by the proximity, Jamon thinks he can't focus while Seongpyo seems equally affected. Drip, a bead of sweat rolls down a player's side. Swish, Jamon turns away, flustered. The scene focuses on Jamon's back as he stands on the court. Jolt. A teammate's voice snaps Seongpyo out of his thoughts, asking what he's doing. Step, Jamon apologizes for being lost in thought and quickly regains his focus, dribbling the ball. Toss. Jump. Jamon goes for a shot while Seongpyo leaps to block him. Swoosh. The ball sinks perfectly through the net. Tap, tap. The ball bounces silently after the score. The crowd erupts, shocked that Jamon got past Seongpyo, and realizing the game's outcome is now uncertain. Seongpyo's teammates confront him in disbelief, asking what they'll do if even he can't block Jamon. FWIP, Seongpyo sighs in frustration, again complaining that he didn't want to play center. Staring, he glares at the scoreboard, which now shows his team losing 29-35. With renewed focus, Seongpyo declares that he'll start playing properly now. From the sidelines, the two teachers observe, with one noting his class has loosened up and is now skyrocketing. Grab. Dash. Jamon quickly intercepts a pass meant for Seongpyo. Dash. Turn. Seongpyo immediately confronts Jamon, who knows he's their last chance. Jamon and Seongpyo face off, their expressions locked in fierce determination. Whoosh, Seongpyo crouches, ready to defend against Jamon's next move. Dash, Jamon dribbles low, tightly guarded by a determined Seongpyo. Smirk, Seongpyo eyes him with a confident, challenging grin. Stumble, Seongpyo's foot slips for a split second. Toss, seeing his opening, Seongpyo realizes he was too slow as Jamon goes for a shot. Clunk, swoosh, the ball hits the rim but falls through the net for a score. Seongpyo watches with a faint, knowing smirk. Clap, his teammates celebrate the incredible fadeaway shot, jokingly calling him Mike Zordan. Clench, Jamon grits his teeth, frustrated that he could have blocked the shot and confused by the nickname. A player on Jamon's team calls for a timeout. Fweet, the ref signals for the game to restart. Glance, Jamon eyes Seongpyo warily as he stands behind him. During the timeout huddle, a teammate tells Jamon he will pass to him, admitting Class 4's defense is on another level. The teammate encourages Jamon, reminding him that since he's the same height as Seongpyo, he has a good chance in a one-on-one. With a determined gaze, Jamon agrees to the plan. Grasping, clutching the ball tightly, Jamon steels himself as his teammates cheer him on. Dash, Jamon races toward the basket with the ball. Whoosh, he leaps high, aiming for the hoop. Seongpyo appears, easily blocking Jamon's shot and taunting him. Whap! With a powerful slap, Seongpyo knocks the ball away. Fweet. Thud. Jamon falls to the ground, stunned as the ball rolls away. Dazed and on the ground, Jamon wonders if he really just fell. Seongpyo reaches out, telling Jamon that he has a good chance of scoring, but that his moves are far too predictable, he says with a smirk. Frowning, Jamon silently looks down at the ground. Seongpyo insists, telling a hesitant Jamon to take his hand. Whap! Jamon angrily slaps Seongpyo's offered hand away. FWIP, Getting up on his own, Jamon ignores Seongpyeo's shocked expression. Thwack. He purposefully bumps Seongpyeo's shoulder as he walks past him. Seongpyo looks on, annoyed and confused by Jamon's attitude. Staring at Jamon's back, Seongpyo quietly observes him. Seongpyo realizes Jamon is intensely competitive, thinking he might get hit if he's not careful. Tap! Jamon picks up the ball as Seongpyo thinks that whether falling is a big deal depends on the person. Step. FWIP, Seongpyo anticipates Jamon will try the same play again. Jamon quickly turns, pivoting on his feet. Jolt. With a toss, Seongpyo realizes in shock that Jamon is copying his fadeaway technique. Whoosh. Jamon jumps into a perfect fadeaway shot as Seongpyo steps forward too late. The crowd on the bleachers watches in absolute silence. Clunk. The ball hits the rim of the basket. Clunk. Seongpyo watches, speechless as the ball drops in. Chills run down the spines of the other players, who are frozen in disbelief. Confused by the sudden silence, Jamon asks his team if he committed a foul. Whisper, his teammates marvel that he just pulled off a fadeaway shot in his first game. Whoa, the crowd and his team erupt in cheers, celebrating his incredible shot. Seongpyo's teammates whisper in awe, debating if Jamon is a genius or a hustler. The blonde teammate shrugs, guessing Jamon just practiced before the game. In a flashback, Jamon's form is shown, reaching for a shot. Seongpyo internally disagrees, knowing that level of skill isn't from simple practice. During a huddle, Seongpyo decides to take the free roll again, while a teammate asks what to do about Jamon. Seongpyo tells them to handle Jamon while he focuses on increasing their score. Wham! Seongpyo powerfully dunks the ball for another score. Thwack! He immediately steals the ball from an opposing player. Gah! The player yelps in frustration as Seongpyo effortlessly bypasses him. Fweet. The final whistle blows, signaling the end of the game with a score of 57-81. Jamon's team collapses in exhaustion, regretting the bet they made. The teachers celebrate their win by ordering coffee, with one happily requesting extra cream. Jamon looks downcast, lamenting that if only he'd been a little better. Chatter, his teammates surround him, praising his performance and begging him to join them for the next game. A teammate jokes that if Seongpyo is Zordon, then Jamon can be LeBron James, to which he awkwardly agrees. Crack, their attention shifts to Seongpyo, who is cracking his knuckles with a grim look. Crack, hee. Seongpyo laughs menacingly, thinking Jamon must be having the time of his life. As Seongpyo's group walks away, Jamon watches them go. Seongpyo smirks, reminding Jamon he's in trouble and about to get a hole in his forehead. Snicker, Jamon thinks what an annoying piece of shit Seongpyo is as a tiny version of him mocks him. Seongpyo gestures for Jamon to follow, suggesting they go somewhere private to avoid the teachers. With a look of utter frustration, Jamon thinks, damn it. The scene transitions to the exterior of the high school building. In an empty hallway, Seongpyo reminds Jamon of their deal regarding the 10 forehead flicks. Seongpyo, lying on a desk, tells Jamon to delete the recording and bring his phone tomorrow. Step, Jamon walks toward him in the classroom. Jamon stands silently before Seongpyo, his expression unreadable. Hee, Seongpyo smirks, telling Jamon he'd better close his eyes. Clench, Jamon closes his eyes, thinking he doesn't need to be told twice. Clench, Seongpyo begins his countdown as Jamon's hand tightens on a desk. Flick, Seongpyo fakes the flick, making Jamon flinch back in anticipation. Stumble, Jamon blinks, startled by the feint. Smirk, Seongpyo grabs Jamon's tie, smugly telling him not to dodge and asking if he's scared. Grab, Jamon clutches his collar, thinking this isn't gonna work. Seongpyo puts a hand on Jamon's shoulder, saying he'll hold him still so he can't dodge. He readies his fingers again, counting down as Jamon watches anxiously. Clench, Jamon squeezes his eyes shut, bracing for the impact. 2. Peek. Jamon opens his eyes, confused when he feels nothing. Piffed, Seongpyo's hand trembles as he struggles to hold back laughter. Wahaha, he explodes with laughter, mocking Jamon for being scared after agreeing to the bet. As Seongpyo howls with laughter, Jamon trembles with frustration, vowing to wipe that smug look off his face. Jamon tells him to get it over with, needing to leave for the academy, and Seongpyo agrees. Tap, counting to 3, Seongpyo gently taps Jamon on the forehead. Press, Jamon stares in confusion, asking what he's doing. Seongpyo dismisses the bet, telling Jamon he'll let him off the hook this time. He smugly explains that he was just playing along to avoid trouble with the school violence committee. Jamon rubs his forehead, thinking Seongpyo is just twisting things to suit himself. Seongpyo quietly asks if Jamon wanted him to apologize. Jamon admits he was just ticked off by the threats and asks if they can call it even. Blush, Jamon is flustered, wondering why the winner is apologizing. Ahem, he awkwardly asks about the photos Seongpyo claimed to have saved, but Seongpyo says he doesn't have any. Step, Seongpyo walks away, admitting he made up the photos just to scare him. Clack, he heads for the door, reminding Jamon he needs to get to the academy. Walking down the hall, Seongpyo admits he thought Jamon was underestimating basketball by making the bet. He then praises Jamon for giving it his all, confessing that perhaps he was the one underestimating things. Puffed, Seongpyo smiles, simply saying, just everything. Step, he pauses at the end of the hall, turning back to Jamon. Turn, he waves, reminding Jamon not to forget his phone tomorrow before leaving. Jamon quietly agrees as he watches Seongpyo go. The scene shifts to a tall, modern building at night called MJ Universal Castle. Jamon arrives home to find an older woman waiting, who notes he's late. Fidget, the woman nervously tries to explain something. A voice calls for Jamon from inside, as the woman quickly says goodbye and leaves. Step. Jamon enters a lavish living room where a man and woman demand an explanation. His phone sits on the table. He panics, wondering how they found his hidden phone. The woman explains they found it while cleaning, and asks if it's someone's old phone, but Jamon claims it belongs to his friend, Seongpyo. The man declares he will have to check with Seongpyo himself, causing Jamon to worry. Clench, Jamon's fist tightens as the man says he'll go through the school, fearing they'll find another weakness. Jamon quickly lies, saying he has the phone to return to Seongpyo tomorrow. He continues the lie, claiming he found it after Seongpyo dropped it, while the woman mutters that it looks like someone's phone. Grab, the man takes the phone, stating he'll check it himself before giving it back. Jamon internally panics, realizing his father's call to Seongpyo will expose everything. His father questions his story about the phone, refusing to return it until he inspects it himself. His mother quietly mutters that they discovered the phone while cleaning his room. Jamon confronts them, asking why they were searching through his private drawers. HMPH, his father dismissively explains they asked the housekeeper to do a deep clean and report any problematic items. Jamon is appalled to learn the housekeeper went through his drawers at his parents' request. With a bitter laugh, Jamon realizes why the housekeeper looked so nervous earlier. His father angrily accuses him of being defiant, but Jamon defends himself, questioning their constant suspicion. Flinch, Jamon recoils in shock as his father reveals that the academy teacher called them. His mother explains the teacher was worried about his recent tardiness, but Jamon claims he was just studying late at school. Spring, his father stands up, vowing to confirm Jamon's stories with his homeroom teacher. Step, his father walks away, ordering him to go to his study later to reflect on his actions. Slam, a door shuts, leaving Jamon standing alone and defeated in the vast, silent living room. The scene shifts to the next day, showing an empty classroom as morning classes are about to begin. Clap, the teacher cheerfully congratulates the students who participated in the basketball game. The students gossip, realizing the teacher is happy because he won a coffee bet against another class's teacher. FWIP, a student cheekily asks for a reward, prompting playful scolding from the teacher. Whoa! To everyone's shock, the teacher announces he's treating the entire class to burgers. Smile, sitting by the window, Seongpyo muses that their teacher must have really wanted them to win. He looks out at the empty basketball court, admitting to himself that he wanted to win just as badly. Clench, he closes his eyes for a moment, recalling the intensity of the game. Smile, he thinks back on the match, conceding that it wasn't a bad experience at all. He spots the players from Class 2 nearby, recognizing the team they played against. The other students greet Seongpyo, asking if he has seen Jamon, who hasn't shown up to school yet. Seongpyo's expression turns serious as he realizes Jamon has already missed the first period. Whisper, his teammates worry that Jamon got in trouble with his notoriously strict parents for playing basketball. Step, just as they're speculating, Jamon appears at the end of the hall. Jamon reassures his worried friends, explaining that an urgent matter at home made him late. Glance, he laughs awkwardly, trying to brush off their concerns that he was in trouble. Whisper, Seongpyo quietly leans in to ask for his phone back, catching Jamon by surprise. Seongpyo postpones the conversation until after class, leaving a confused Jamon waiting. Step, as Seongpyo walks away, he wonders why Jamon is being hesitant, guessing it's because others are watching. Bustle, at a convenience store, the winning team playfully argues over the spoils of their bet. Bustle, one of the teammates generously offers to pay for everyone's snacks at once. A teammate asks where Jamon is, and another mentions he seems unwell and skipped lunch. Glance, Seong-pyo overhears their conversation, his expression growing concerned. His gaze shifts to the drink cooler, focusing on the cartons of chocolate milk. Later, back in the classroom, Jamon is confused to find a carton of chocolate milk on his desk. Ha! Holding the drink. Jamon sighs wearily before turning to ask his teammates about it. They offer him some bread, but Jamon is more curious about where the chocolate milk came from. A friend reveals that Seong-pyo bought it for him, joking that it might improve his grades. Jamon stares at the drink, stunned to learn that Seong-pyo, the other top student, had bought it for him. Tap. A brief flashback shows Seong-pyo quietly placing the carton of milk on Jamon's desk. Jamon looks down, lost in thought as he processes Seong-pyo's unexpected kindness. In the teacher's resource room, Jamon impatiently asks Seong-pyo why he dragged him there just to return a phone. He holds out the phone to Seong-pyo, ready to end the exchange. Seong-pyo sighs in frustration, looking at the phone and stating that it isn't his. Annoyed, Seong-pyo asks if Jamon brought the wrong one and impatiently tells him to just keep it. Clench, as Seong-pyo insists, Jamon fidgets nervously before finally confessing that he lost the real phone. Seong-pyo stares back at him in stunned silence, simply asking, "What?" Seong-pyo internally seethes, questioning how Jamon could lose the phone after dragging things out. Jamon wonders if the phone was lost from the start, and the bet was just a stalling tactic. A brief happier memory shows Seong-pyo and Jamon walking together and smiling. Grit, Seong-pyo's jaw tightens in fury as he realizes Jamon might be messing with him. "Are you kidding me?" Seong-pyo furiously demands to know how his phone was lost. Jamon explains he tried to keep it safe, but suspects the housekeeper accidentally threw it out. Seong-pyo rejects the replacement phone, demanding money or a new model instead of the old one. When Jamon admits he doesn't have enough allowance, Seong-pyo scoffs and tells him to ask his rich parents. Flinch, Jamon recoils as Seong-pyo threatens to call his parents himself. Clench, Seong-pyo internally fumes, thinking Jamon is playing the victim again and regretting his brief moment of respect for him. FWIP, Jamon reluctantly agrees to tell his parents, deciding it's the best option. Shake, Seong-pyo recoils in disgust, refusing to touch the dirty phone he claims Jamon used with perverts. Seong-pyo accuses Jamon of losing the phone while doing shady things, which Jamon heatedly denies. Smirk, Seong-pyo cruelly suggests that if he can't tell his parents, he should get money from his clients for a new phone. Jamon snaps back, reminding Seong-pyo that he was the one being blackmailed, and that he already apologized for losing the phone. Seong-pyo laughs mockingly, stating his sympathy ended when Jamon started looking down on him. He questions Jamon's hypocrisy, asking why he fears his parents but not the strangers he meets. With a menacing glare, Seong-pyo warns Jamon that he messed with the wrong person. Jamon grits his teeth, stunned and angered by Seong-pyo's vicious insult. Seong-pyo confronts Jamon's defiant stare, demanding to know what he's looking at. Smirk, Jamon turns the tables with a provocative question. "Does me being a slut turn you on?" Chills, Seong-pyo is shocked speechless as Jamon accuses him of being secretly obsessed, just like people who leave nasty comments. Seong-pyo freezes, realizing Jamon is calling out his lie about the online account. Step, Jamon closes the distance, reminding Seong-pyo of his curiosity about his supposed slutty behavior. Glack, Jamon unbuckles his belt, offering to show him the dirty things he wants to see. Chills, a stunned Seong-pyo nervously asks what he's doing. Tug, Jamon lifts his shirt, defiantly offering to give Seong-pyo the show he's been asking for. Stumble, fidget, Seong-pyo backs away, completely flustered by Jamon's bold move. Tap, he bumps into a shelf, cornered and startled by Jamon's advance. Shudder, Seong-pyo frantically tells him to stop, reminding him they're at school. FWIP, undeterred, Jamon covers his mouth with his shirt collar. Sounds of heavy breathing fill the silent storeroom. Seong-pyo stares, his mind racing with a single thought. Fuck. As Jamon begins to pleasure himself, Seong-pyo realizes he's deliberately mimicking the video. Chills, panicked, Seong-pyo mentally screams at himself to push Jamon away and not to look. Slide. Jamon bites down on his shirt, his actions becoming more intense. Quiver. His face flushes as he muffles a sound of pleasure. Gulp. Seong-pyo swallows hard, undeniably affected by the scene unfolding before him. Leaning against a box, A flushed Jaemin glances back at Seongpyo. Jaemin asks if the display lived up to Seongpyo's expectations. Tug, pulling his shirt down. Jaemin confesses he did it all. Smile. To relieve his stress, Riley admitting he is, after all, a perverted fucking slut. Step, creak. Jaemin calmly walks out, saying he needs to clean up, leaving a stunned Seongpyo behind. Slam. The door closes, and Seongpyo is left standing alone in the storeroom. Clench. Seongpyo's fist tightens before he slides to the floor, breathless. His mind reels as he wonders if Jaemin just decided to use him. He runs a hand through his hair, blushing as he realizes Jaemin might have used him as an outlet. A tense moment passes as he sits on the floor, trying to process what happened. Splash, splash. The scene shifts to Seongpyo desperately washing his face in the bathroom. Drip, drip, creak. He grips a cup, water running down his face as he tries to compose himself. Drip. In the bathroom. Seongpyo glares at Jaemin, threatening to kill him tomorrow. Step, step. Back in the classroom, a tired Seongpyo notices a carton of chocolate milk on a desk. He recognizes the chocolate milk he bought earlier. Grit. With a curse, he angrily grabs the milk carton. Whoosh. He snatches the chocolate milk off the desk. FWIP. With a frustrated sigh, he turns and walks away. The carton of chocolate milk is tossed into a trash bin. Chirp, chirp. The scene transitions to an outside view of the school building. Slam! Someone's feet hit the ground as they shout for Ryu Jaemin. Step, step. Students whisper about Seongpyo looking angry, wondering if he and Jaemin fought. Glance, glance. Seongpyo enters a classroom asking two friends if Jaemin is there. Jaemin's friends say they don't know and ask if the two of them fought. Pout. The friends press for answers, confused by his silence about their relationship. Seongpyo listens to them with a stern, annoyed expression. Whoa! In a frantic flashback, Seongpyo dashes away, blaming Jaemin for violating his eyes. Mutter. Back at home, a dazed Seongpyo insists he didn't see anything as his brother asks what he's doing. His brother scolds him for leaving the refrigerator open, thinking he's screwed up big time. A dark aura surrounds Seongpyo as he fumes about Jaemin missing class after everything he did. He rubs his neck, telling Jaemin's friend that he needs something returned to him. Rattle, Seongpyo enters another classroom, claiming he just came to hang out. A student correctly guesses he's looking for Jaemin to get something back. Seongpyo confirms it's a phone, wondering how the other student knew. The student explains Jaemin's parents called about the phone and asks if Jaemin is absent today. Jolt, Seongpyo is visibly shocked to hear Jaemin will no longer be attending extra classes. The student explains Jaemin will study at home, then rushes off as another teacher yells at students in the hall. Chills, Seongpyo seethes, thinking Jaemin is pissing him off until the very end. Plop, he sits down in class, frustrated he can't confront Jaemin as a friend asks where he was. He suddenly remembers something, asking his friend if he goes to the same academy as Jaemin. Murmur, looking over the classroom, he asks his friend if Jaemin attended class yesterday. His friend gets flustered, insisting they aren't close when Seongpyo pressures him to ask. Seongpyo smiles, making an excuse that he might join the academy since second year is approaching. The friend offers to go register with him, but Seongpyo seems hesitant to rush into it. Tug. Seongpyo lifts his shirt suggestively, offering to show him the dirty things he does. The friend is left blushing and completely flustered by the provocative offer. Clench. He grips his pants tightly, cursing under his breath in frustration. Flustered, the friend agrees they should go to the academy before the holidays end. Turn. His friends are shocked to hear he's going to an academy, but he brushes it off. He leans on his desk with a sly smile, saying he's just trying it out. Seongpyo stands before the academy, thinking he won't let Jaemin off the hook. Frowning, walking through the city at night, he resolves that Jaemin must take responsibility. Step, step. He and Jaemin enter the academy building together. Jaemin greets the receptionist while Seongpyo watches from behind. The receptionist asks Jaemin if he came with Seongpyo, whom he's never seen before. Jaemin explains to the receptionist that Seongpyo is there to sign up for the intensive course. Tilt, Seongpyo leans in, asking Jaemin about using his phone for the attendance app. Jaemin explains that phones aren't required and that an attendance card also works. As the receptionist returns, Seongpyo tells Jaemin he's going to the bathroom. The receptionist explains the curriculum, and Jaemin asks to log his attendance with a card since he doesn't have his phone. Slide. The receptionist hands over a clipboard, telling him to fill out the marked sections. Lean Seongpyo peeks around a corner, searching for Ryu Jaemin. Pop. Seongpyo greets Jaemin at the academy, telling him to head in. An instructor tells Jamon he can take any empty seat in the classroom. Tap. Sitting down, Seongpyo silently scans the quiet classroom. As students whisper, and he writes, Seongpyo realizes Jamon isn't at the academy either. Frowning, he grows increasingly frustrated by Jamon's absence. Step. Seongpyo walks through the academy halls. He notes how quiet it is, and recalls being told that Jamon quit. Pause. He overhears two staff members whispering about Ilyang's top-ranked first-year student. Seongpyo turns, realizing they're talking about Ryu Jamon. The staff members continue to whisper, wondering if they should have told Jamon's parents he was late for self-study. Clench. Seongpyo's hand tightens into a fist as he confirms Jamon isn't coming. Turn, step. He walks away as other students gossip nearby. A sliding door marks a scene transition. Tap. Waiting for the elevator, Seongpyo gets frustrated and decides to get some air. He stops short, surprised by what he sees. A girl with long brown hair recognizes him, calling out his name. The girl stands looking at her phone, wearing a beige jacket over her uniform. Beep. Seongpyo approaches her at a vending machine, commenting that it's been ages. Clunk. She agrees it's their first time meeting since middle school. Lean, as she gets her drink. He recalls their past closeness, a stark contrast to his relationship with Jamon. FWIP, he hands her a drink to celebrate, and she asks if his grades dropped in high school. Clack, she opens her can, asking if he also decided to focus more on his studies. Gulp, he replies that he's maintaining his grades, and she chuckles, calling him insufferable. Creak, she nervously asks if he's still in touch with Soo-hyun. He explains that Jung Soo-hyun is pursuing a career as an idol after becoming a trainee. She asks why he's asking her, explaining they've drifted apart since starting different schools. Creak, he admits it's been a while for him too, blaming his missing phone. A teacher tells them class is starting, interrupting their conversation. They wish each other good luck before parting ways for class. Creak, glance. Seongpyo enters the classroom, seeing it's still empty of the person he's looking for. He regrets signing up, realizing he's trapped because he already took the academy fees from his brother. Slump, with a sigh. He rests his head on his desk, resigned to his fate. He laments that he can't find Jamon, and couldn't even talk to his old friend. Frustrated, he feels like nothing is going right, and he's stuck. He closes his eyes, wishing he could just be an adult already. In the faculty room, a teacher returns a phone to Jamon. Russell, Jamon questions why his phone is in a plastic bag as a blonde-haired man dismissively tells him to leave. Press, standing in the hall, Jamon powers on his phone. Ding! The phone lights up, and he feels a sense of nostalgia seeing his old background. His friends excitedly greet him, surprised he has a phone again, but one recognizes it's his old one. Jamon explains someone returned his lost phone, and his friends joke about the delay. Snicker. Tap. Jamon scrolls through his phone, then pauses on a particular image. He looks thoughtful, remembering something about the photo. Click. In a flashback, he recalls taking a photo of Seongpyo's back to motivate himself. Stare. Back in the present, Seongpyo wonders if he'll be able to beat Jamon next year. Rub. He massages his neck, wondering what Jamon is doing. Ugh. His eyes narrow in thought as a question forms in his mind. Chirp, chirp, rattle. Time passes to the start of second year, and Seongpyo arrives early to class. Pause. He stops in the doorway, spotting someone already inside. He silently observes the person sitting by the window. Jae-shan Jimin peers into the classroom, surprised to see someone already there. He notes with surprise that the other person is there early. Jamin and Seongpyo share a silent, tense stare from across the room. Clack. Two classmates arrive, cheerfully greeting Jamon and teasing them for being the top two students who are always early. They express their concern over Jamon's absence, but he explains his parents just wanted him to study at home. A friend questions him about skipping the academy, while another playfully accuses him of trying to learn Jamon's study secrets. Rummage. Seongpyo reflects that since few chose physics, all the high-ranking students, including Jamon, are now in his class. Chatter. Other students in the room complain about the academic pressure they face from their parents at home. Glance. Watching Jamin, Seongpyo feels that something about his story is strange. Stare. Seongpyo looks at his phone, puzzled why Jamon claimed it was lost but returned it through a teacher like criminal evidence. Gasp. A horrifying thought strikes Seongpyo as he imagines a news report on child abuse, wondering if Jamon was confined and searched by his parents. A classmate snaps Seongpyo out of his thoughts by calling his name, leaving him flustered. His friend mentions wanting to play basketball again with Jamon, who seems hesitant to agree. Seongpyo dismisses his own concerns, Convinced Jamon is treated like a prince at home as Jamon vaguely agrees to play later. Ring. The bell signals the end of the day as students begin to file out of the classroom. Yawn outside. Seongpyo stretches wearily as a friend asks about his plans for the academy. Seongpyo says he'll think about it, though he admits to himself that he already registered out of anger. His friend encourages him to join the same academy before they part ways for the day. Screech! Seongpyo watches in surprise as a black car pulls up for Jamon, and he wonders how to approach him. Clack. As Jamon gets into the car, Seongpyo realizes he has a personal driver, cementing his belief that Jamon was born rich. Step. Seongpyo walks alone, pondering whether Jamon is headed home or to the academy. Pause. He suddenly stops in his tracks. Screech. A public bus pulls up to the stop, momentarily blocking his view. Rattle. The doors of the bus are open and empty. Room. Seongpyo looks around in confusion, searching for the car and wondering where Jamon disappeared to. Clack. He spots Jamon getting out of the car nearby and realizes he's found him. The scene blurs, showing the bustle of pedestrians on the street. Step. Seongpyo follows Jamon from a distance as they both walk down the crowded sidewalk. As they near the academy district, Seongpyo debates whether he should catch up or wait. Turn. Pause. He stops short as Jamon unexpectedly changes direction, leaving him confused. Step. Seongpyo follows cautiously, wondering where Jamon is going if not to the academy. FWIP. Jamon quickly ducks into a narrow side alley. Whoosh. Standing alone in the alley, Jamon silently surveys his surroundings. Peek. Seongpyo secretly watches from the corner as Jamon walks deeper into the alley. Thump. Hiding behind a column, Seongpyo's heart pounds as he questions why he's acting so suspiciously. Glance. He peeks out again, still trying to figure out Jamon's destination. Frown. Seongpyo lets out a frustrated sigh. He eyes the dilapidated building Jamon entered, thinking he must be crazy. Creak. Step. Jamon slips through a door marked "No Entry" into a dark, derelict building. Step. The sound of his footsteps echoes. From Seongpyo's hiding spot, he sees Jamon disappear completely inside. Glancing on the building's rooftop, Jamon calmly lights a cigarette. Turn. He exhales slowly, turning to ask an unsurprised Seongpyo how he was found. Seongpyo angrily confronts him, questioning his priorities and accusing him of smoking to avoid being photographed. Chuckle. Jamon taunts him, suggesting Seongpyo followed him because he was secretly dying to see him take more photos. Grr. Seongpyo furiously denies having any such interest in what Jamon did to him. As Jamon continues smoking, Seongpyo internally fumes, wondering why he's so calm. Jamon extinguishes his cigarette and tells Seongpyo to move, but Seongpyo asks if he's smoking because of stress again. Seongpyo questions why a smart person like Jamon resorts to smoking and taking perverted photos to relieve stress. He flashes back to a memory of Jamon laughing genuinely while playing basketball with his friends. Step. Tap. Seongpyo confronts Jamon, asking why he won't play basketball with everyone. Clench. Seongpyo internally fumes, frustrated that Jamon wants to hang with perverts instead. Pause. Jamon stops, glancing back at a fuming Seongpyo. Tap. Seongpyo puts a hand on Jamon's shoulder, suggesting they ditch the academy to save this lunatic. FWIP. Jamon pushes his hand away, insisting they can't just leave because the teachers check everything. Seongpyo holds up 3 fingers, proposing a 30-minute detour and revealing he plans to register at the academy too. Jamon questions what they would do, while Seongpyo internally rules out playing basketball nearby. Snicker. Seongpyo taps his phone, taunting Jamon about being scared while Jamon realizes his intentions. Seongpyo calls the academy to report their delay, privately hoping to get Jamon addicted to having fun. FWIP. He proudly shows Jamon the call log, prompting Jamon to question the 30-minute plan. Grab. Seongpyo takes Jamon's hand, dismissing his worries about getting in trouble for being late. Dash. Smiling, Seongpyo confidently leads a bewildered Jamon away. Bustle. They arrive at a busy building with a large Gameland sign. Jamon stares at the sign, realizing with surprise that they're at an arcade. Gulp. He swallows nervously, wondering if Seongpyo actually intends to go inside. Chuckle. Seongpyo reassures a worried Jamon that it's not a place they shouldn't be. FWIP. He beckons Jamon forward, telling him to relax since it's just an arcade. Step. Glance. Seongpyo enters the arcade as Jamon hesitates at the door. Beep blip. Inside, a couple plays a claw machine, the girl urging him on after a near miss. Blip blip. A group of boys heckles their friend playing a fighting game, eager for their turn. Bustle, chatter. Jamon notices the arcade is crowded with students from their school. FWIP, glance. He anxiously covers his face, worried about being recognized. Turn, Seongpyo notices Jamon's anxiety and asks what game he wants to play. Plop, Seongpyo drapes his hoodie over Jamon's head, jokingly asking if he's a celebrity. He tells Jamon to stop being so self-conscious about being seen. Jamon questions the gesture, and Seongpyo tells him to use the hood to hide his face. Kreveft, Jamon complains that he looks like a criminal, and Seongpyo can't help but agree. Seongpyo smirks that the look suits him, while Jamon silently wishes he could fight back. Smirk, bottom. Seongpyo warns him not to lose the hoodie, making Jamon's heart race. Press. Jamon holds the hoodie close, noticing that it smells like Seongpyo. Seongpyo points out a shooting game, calling it perfect for a psycho like Jamon. Clack, clack, he inserts a coin, declaring they're jumping right in. Bang, Seongpyo immediately starts playing, urging a hesitant Jamon to grab a gun. Bang, bang, they play side by side as Seongpyo directs Jamon to cover his side. Bang, Jamon's expression becomes focused as he gets into the game. A small smile appears on Jamon's face as he realizes he's actually having fun. Tap, Seongpyo puts his gun down to leave, but Jamon protests, saying they still have lives left. Seongpyo says they only have 10 minutes left and should try other games, though Jamon wants to stay. Spotting an empty music booth, Seongpyo suggests they go sing instead. Plop, he pulls a surprised Jamon into the cramped karaoke booth. FWIP, Seongpyo hands Jamon the songbook, telling him to pick something quickly. Jamon feels anxious, having never sung in public, especially not in front of Seongpyo. FWIP, Seongpyo passes the book to Jamon, letting him go first. Whap! He presses the book on a flustered Jamon, insisting he sing first due to time. Boom, boom! Seongpyo hesitantly tests the mic, already regretting his choice of activity. Boom, boom. The music starts as Jamon watches, the lyrics reflecting a sense of mania. Boom. Jamon watches in awe as Seongpyo gets into the song, singing with surprising passion. Boom, boom. As Seongpyo continues his performance, Jamon thinks that he's trying really hard. Click, beep. Seongpyo cuts the song short to save time and asks Jamon what he's chosen. Stare, tremble. Seongpyo leans in to see what's wrong as he notices Jamon is shaking. Bwaha! Still wearing the hoodie, Jamon bursts into unrestrained laughter. Ha ha! He continues laughing, calling out Seongpyo's name with a smile. Seongpyo stares back, silent and visibly annoyed. Peeved, Jamon mocks Seongpyo, telling him he's a terrible singer who is completely offbeat, while Seongpyo internally fumes at the insult. Seongpyo asks why he was shaking so much if he can't sing, but Jamon shrugs it off, saying all that matters is having fun as he takes the songbook. Jamon refuses to sing, saying he had fun just watching, as Seongpyo tells him that's why he'd never be a celebrity and urges him to pick a song. Seongpyo smirks, saying Jamon's reluctance is perfect, and that he's been looking for a way to get back at him for his previous actions. Seongpyo challenges Jamon to sing, promising to let it go if he does, and daring him to prove what the all-rounder Ryu Jamon can't do. Frown, Jamon asks why Seongpyo keeps bringing up the past, arguing that he only showed him because he was asked to. They argue intensely, with Jamon insisting he didn't want to watch, and Seongpyo retorting that Jamon watched willingly, not tied up. Jamon claims he was just surprised. Jamon lets out a heavy, frustrated sigh. He expresses his exhaustion with the conversation, thinking that Seongpyo always brings up the past just when he starts to seem decent. Jamon collapses into a chair, telling Seongpyo to do whatever he wants to him right there, in exchange for never mentioning that incident again. Grip, Seongpyo grabs Jamon's collar, intrigued by the offer. Lean, he looms over Jamon, mocking his sudden bravery, while a defeated Jamon tells him to just hit him and be done with it. Smirk, Seongpyo grabs Jamon's tie, warning him not to cry when it hurts. Jamon's collar is pulled open, his lips slightly parted in anticipation. He challenges Seongpyo, asking him to just do it if he's gonna hit him. Whoosh! In a swift motion, Seongpyo pushes Jamon down onto the seat. Jolt, pinned down and startled, Jamon asks what he's doing. Seongpyo's eye narrows with intense focus. In the privacy of the small booth, Seongpyo leans in and kisses a surprised Jamon. Bottom, as their lips meet, Jamon's hand twitches on Seongpyo's thigh. Bottom, Jamon's eyes are wide with shock as his heart pounds. Bottom, Seongpyo's expression is one of pure determination. Boom, boom! The beat of the music fills the air as they kiss under the hoodie. Slurp! Seongpyo deepens the kiss until Jamon pulls back, breathlessly asking if he's crazy. Slurp, lick. Their intense kiss continues, leaving Jamon gasping. Tingle! Jamon's hand grips Seongpyo's leg as a sensation runs through him. Chills, twitch. Jamon shivers and buries his face against Seongpyo, thinking he can't continue. Whap! Overwhelmed, Jamon pushes Seongpyo away, declaring, "That's enough." He pants heavily, covering his mouth in disbelief. Seongpyo looks on, flustered, and tries to say something. Toss, Seongpyo abruptly takes off his hoodie. Turn, he grabs his bag and leaves the booth, prompting Jamon to ask where he's going. Step, step. Jamon follows him out, muttering that Seongpyo is a crazy lunatic. Dash as Jamon tries to walk away, Seongpyo quickly catches up. Seongpyo angrily asks why he's being ditched, but Jamon tells the psycho not to speak to him. Chatter. Inside the academy classroom, two students discuss a girl one of them likes. Seongpyo covers Jamon's eyes from behind as Jamon internally reflects on his hope to find someone in college. Pause. As Seongpyo asks if he's even listening, Jamon miserably realizes he's just had his first kiss with a guy. Smack. Furious, Jamon slaps Seongpyo hard across the face, yelling at him. Throb. Seongpyo holds his stinging cheek in shock, demanding to know why he was hit. He furiously asks why Jamon is taking it out on him after initiating everything, as Jamon fumes at his rotten temper. Huff! Jamon angrily storms away, leaving Seongpyo to watch. They stand in awkward silence before an elevator, Seongpyo thinking that they're going to the same place anyway. Glancing, Jamon eyes Seongpyo suspiciously, wondering when he started attending his academy, and beginning to ask a question. Seongpyo finishes his sentence, asking if he didn't like it, before darkly thinking he might actually kill him. Whoosh! Seongpyo cheekily teases Jamon about using his tongue, earning a sharp fuck-off in return. Swoosh! Seongpyo steps into the elevator while Jamon hesitates, wondering if he made a mistake. Slurp, lick, Seongpyo and Jamon share an intense, messy kiss. Bottom, bottom. Jamon clutches his chest, heart pounding as he thinks, shit. A teacher's voice reminds students to review today's class and catch the shuttle bus. Feeling tired and unfocused, Jamon decides to take the stairs to avoid the murmuring crowd. As Jamon walks down the stairs, Seongpyo calls out to him from behind. Jamon turns around, questioning why Seongpyo is following him and demanding to know how his supposedly lost phone was delivered to him. Frowning, Jamon dismisses him, saying he's busy and they'll talk tomorrow. Seongpyo smirks, telling Jamon he was just getting payback for what he did. Grit? Jamon internally fumes, furious that Seongpyo took his first kiss for revenge and wondering if it means nothing to him. Jamon mutters that Seongpyo is a hypocrite for calling him a man-whore when he is the one forcing kisses. Glaring, Jamon tells Seongpyo to stop talking and just beat him up already. Stomp, stomp, as Jamon rushes up the stairs, an angry Seongpyo follows, demanding to know if that's all he has to say. Seongpyo watches him go, confused as to why Jamon is angry when he started it. Plop, Seongpyo slumps onto the stairs, feeling like the victim, and realizing it was his first kiss too. He presses his lips, trying to deny it was a real kiss before admitting he used his tongue. A teacher finds Seongpyo on the stairs and asks why he hasn't left, while Seongpyo regrets his impulsive actions. Seongpyo gets up to leave, telling the teacher he's going while admitting to himself he doesn't know what's happening. The scene shifts to a view of apartment buildings at night. Plop, Seongpyo collapses onto his couch at home, too exhausted to do anything. He decides to clean up later and checks his phone for something he looked up on the bus. Tap, tap, he searches on his phone for a free counseling website. Sighing, he puts his phone down, hoping for a reply by tomorrow after lying about his grade. He decides to shower and go to bed, feeling completely exhausted. Ding! His phone lights up with a notification on the empty couch. Back in his room, he decides to quickly check his phone for a reply. He's surprised to see that someone has already responded. The teenage years are often a time of self-discovery, and it's completely normal to feel unsure or curious about your sexuality as you grow and change. There's no pressure to define yourself right away, and it's okay to explore your feelings and attractions at your own pace. Reading on, he mutters that he and Jamon aren't close friends when the reply suggests platonic feelings can feel romantic. He feels annoyed by the casual tone of the advice. Frustrated, he decides to find a different, more professional website for advice. Ding ding ding, his new post immediately gets comments, but none of them feel right to him. He swipes through his phone, feeling dejected that he'll get the same answers everywhere. Pause. He stops on a comment suggesting he tried dating a girl to see if his feelings change. He thoughtfully considers the idea of hanging out with a girl. He recalls asking a friend if they still talk to a girl named Soohyun and decides to look her up. Tap. He finds Jung Soohyun's social media profile and follows her. He sends her a message asking how she's doing. Jingle Seong-pyo enters a busy coffee shop, welcomed by the staff. He glances around, searching for someone in the crowd. He reaches for a seat, assuming she hasn't arrived yet. He's surprised to get a text from her telling him to find her by the window. Realizing she actually came, he flashes back to middle school when he and his friends, including a girl, would joke about going to karaoke. Sitting down, he feels unsure of what to do, realizing it's been a while since he hung out with a girl. Creak, he gasps in panic, suddenly wondering if this is a date as someone approaches from behind. Soohyun arrives with a drink and greets him, and he awkwardly says, "Hey back." They immediately start bickering, with him complaining about her being late and her retorting that it was only 5 minutes. From outside, they can be seen chatting at a table inside the coffee shop. Soohyun smiles warmly, saying it's been a while. As they talk, Seong-pyo teases her about drinking a sweet beverage, despite her old complaints about being on a diet. Clack. Soohyun explains her weekly treat and asks Seong-pyo why he reached out after a year. Shrug. Seong-pyo awkwardly compliments her, calling her the prettiest girl he knows. Soohyun remains silent, her expression unreadable. She reacts with disgust, asking if he's hitting on her because she joined an agency, as he insists it was a compliment. Seong-pyo complains about unwanted attention since joining his agency, realizing he can't vent about Jamon to her. Frown, he internally curses. Frustrated for thinking about Jamon again, he backpedals, claiming he was joking, and then mentions that a mutual friend, Kang Jiseon, attends his academy. Soohyun explains her busy schedule makes it difficult to keep in touch with friends like she used to. They discuss their futures, with Soohyun admitting her dancing skills are stronger than her vocals. Spring, she eagerly suggests going to karaoke, excited for a rare chance to sing for fun. Seong-pyo is internally shocked by her suggestion, wondering if she's serious. She leads him to an arcade, leaving him to wonder why he ended up in the very place he's trying to forget. As Soohyun reminisces about their middle school days, Seong-pyo wants to go somewhere else. He stammers, unable to explain his reluctance as she insists it's the best option. Step. She brushes off his concerns about being seen, saying she has to leave soon anyway. A flashback shows him playing a game with a cheerful Jamon, who's taking it very seriously. Returning to Soohyun, Seong-pyo lies that his brother called when she asks what took him so long. Baitum. His heart pounds as he urges her to sing, thinking he'll go crazy otherwise, while she teases him about his sudden interest. Baitum. The memory of his kiss with Jamon flashes through his mind. His heart continues to pound as he thinks, damn. In the karaoke booth, Soohyun teases him about being a bad singer as she prepares to go first. Boom, he seems dazed, lost in thought as the music starts, and she wonders what he's thinking. As Soohyun sings, Seong-pyo surprisingly finds himself feeling good, a smile spreading across his face. Whoa, she sings with passion, fully immersed in her performance. Wink, she finishes her song with a confident flourish. Clap, Seong-pyo praises her improved singing as she shrugs, crediting her practice. Beep. He nervously selects his own song. Boom. Soohyun laughs hysterically at his terrible singing, as he scores a meager 47. The scene transitions to a quiet city street at night. Waving goodbye, Soohyun says she had fun and suggests they meet again soon. He watches her leave, telling himself it wasn't a real date, and his feelings for her haven't changed. But his heart races as he touches his lips, wondering why things with Jamon are so different. Slump. He collapses onto the curb in despair, questioning what he should do. Two friends approach, with one asking Seong-pyo what he's doing there alone. They invite him to an internet cafe, but he declines, saying he's on his way home. As he quickly leaves, his friends wonder about his strange behavior all week. The next day at school, a tired Seong-pyo enters the classroom, unable to sleep after the previous night. His friends glare at him intensely, and he flinches, completely confused by their hostility. Argha, one friend explodes, calling him a traitor for secretly meeting up with Soohyun. Gra, his friend yells at him for not inviting them, but Seong-pyo calmly asks what the big deal is. Seong-pyo insists Soohyun wouldn't have come if they were there, leaving his friends speechless with anger. Grit. Across the room, Jamon listens as other classmates gossip about Seong-pyo's date with Soohyun. Gra. Seong-pyo finally snaps, yelling at his friends to get off his back, insisting it wasn't a date. His friend shows another a photo of Suhyun, muttering about what a fake friend Seongpyo is for meeting her alone. Seongpyo quietly glances over at Jamon, who seems preoccupied with his phone. He wonders if Jamon heard everything but assumes he wouldn't care anyway. A close-up reveals Jamon's focused gaze. Tap. Jamon is looking at Young Soo-yoon's social media profile on his phone. He taps on one of her photos, thinking to himself that she's pretty and sounds like an aspiring idol. Frown, Jamon wonders why a pretty girl would date a piece of shit. He scrolls through her photos, noting they even went to karaoke. Grit, clench, he grips his phone, angrily wondering if Seongpyo kissed her too. Step, chatter, students, including Jamon and Seongpyo, head to their first music class. Chatter. Outside the classroom, students assume the first day will be easy. WAP. A teacher with long, light green hair enters, telling the class to settle down. Tap. The teacher types, while explaining the performance evaluation. The teacher displays a list of songs for the singing and instrumental tests. The teacher details the homework, encouraging the students to enjoy music and have fun. Seongpyo looks stressed, admitting he's not confident in any of those options. FWIP. The teacher asks for the class president, and Seongpyo reluctantly raises his hand. Seongpyo confirms he's president, silently hoping he won't be given any tasks. Jolt. The teacher puts him on the spot, asking him to sing a song to demonstrate. Whoa, slam! A classmate blurts out that Seongpyo went to karaoke with a girl, causing Seongpyo to slam his music stand in anger. Clap! The teacher teases him about his date, urging him to sing, while classmates snicker. Ha! Another student encourages Seongpyo to sing for the class, but he sighs, knowing it won't affect his grade. Sigh, creak, he slumps in his chair, feeling it's pointless. Glance, he subtly looks to the side. The view focuses on Jamon, sitting quietly and observing. Turn, stare, Seongpyo turns to Jamon, certain he was just being watched. Boom, a student begins to sing opera very poorly. Squeak, boom, as the terrible singing continues, Jamon snickers while Seongpyo cringes. Wahaha! Another student's awful singing makes Seongpyo burst into laughter. Clap clap, the class applauds the terrible performance as Seongpyo jokingly thanks them. Glancing his classmates chatter, Seongpyo overhears someone remark that there's something even he can't do. He looks over at Jamon, who isn't laughing with the others. Creak, annoyed, Seongpyo sinks into his chair, deciding to just ignore him. Clap clap, the teacher sarcastically compliments the last singer and asks for another volunteer. Chatter. Students begin shouting out nominations for the next singer. Jolt, Jamon is suddenly nominated, and another student suggests Seongpyo should decide. Seongpyo looks hesitant and uncertain about what to do. He glances over at Jamon, considering the suggestion. A close-up shows Jamon's calm, steady eyes. Creak, Jamon silently stands up, accepting the challenge. Seongpyo asks what he'll sing, and Jamon chooses a somber song, making Seongpyo think it suits his personality. Boom boom, as Jamon begins to sing, his beautiful voice shocks a bewildered Seongpyo. Boom boom, Jamon continues his flawless and powerful opera performance. Whoa! The entire class erupts in applause, completely amazed by his hidden talent. The teacher praises Jamon's wonderful performance before starting the lesson. The scene shifts to the hallway as the teacher dismisses the class. The teacher asks Seongpyo and Jamon to help her with something before they leave. Tap, turn after finishing the task, Seongpyo tells Jamon they can go. Seongpyo stops Jamon to compliment his singing, and they exchange tense words about talent and preference. Turn, Seongpyo confronts Jamon, asking how long he plans to act this way. Seongpyo pressures him about being upset, but Jamon coolly denies it. Seongpyo recalls Jamon's past anger, and Jamon dares him to just hit him already. Grit, whoosh, Seongpyo seethes, wondering if violence would really solve anything for Jamon. Pause. Jamon raises his fist to strike Seongpyo, but stops himself. FWIP. He turns away, thinking this will end just like the karaoke incident. Jamon taunts him for not hitting him, asking if he remembered their kiss before dismissing it as nothing. Seongpyo smirks, taunting Jamon about whether their encounter even counted as a kiss. As Seongpyo steps forward, Jamon tells him to stop bringing it up, but Seongpyo insists that the past can't be changed. Tap, Seongpyo touches Jamon's chin, suggesting it wouldn't be a big deal if they continued. Thwack, Jamon violently slaps his hand away, yelling at him to get away. Rub, Jamon furiously wipes at his lips, calling Seongpyo a piece of shit. Drip, A single drop of blood falls from Jamon's now bleeding lip as he glares in silence. Swat. Jamon shoves his hand away, accusing Seongpyo of being a psycho who kisses random people. Gra. Seongpyo angrily demands to know when he ever did that. He realizes Jamon must have overheard his conversation with Soohyun and insists they only sang together. Pout. Jamon scoffs at the idea he's jealous, retorting that he's actually angry about being blackmailed and assaulted again. Scratch. Seongpyo nervously backs down, promising to never talk about it again. Jamon looks away, wondering how he could possibly trust someone like him. A close-up reveals Seongpyo's determined, calculating gaze. Jamon looks away, his expression filled with troubled hesitation. Jamon turns his back, coldly telling him to find a girlfriend for that kind of thing. Scratch. Seongpyo makes excuses, explaining that dating is a pain since they're seniors at an all-boys school. Frown. Jamon angrily cuts him off, telling him to shut up before he says something stupid. Seongpyo presses on, suggesting that Jamon must have uploaded those videos to blow off steam. Gra. He continues psychoanalyzing Jamon's coping mechanisms, causing Jamon to yell at him to shut up. Seongpyo proposes a convenient arrangement between them, but Jamon worries about being exposed. As a solution, Seongpyo suggests they take compromising photos of each other to ensure mutual silence, an idea Jamon finds disgusting. Seongpyo admits he looked up his feelings online and was told it's a normal part of being a high schooler. Glance, he internally reasons that his offer is a good deal and wonders why Jamon is so resistant. He suddenly asks if he was Jamon's first kiss, then quickly dismisses the thought. Flinch, Jamon furiously denies it, lying that it wasn't his first time either, before mentally cursing himself. Seongpyo scoffs at Jamon's supposed experience, but Jamon tells him to stop talking about it. Stare, after being called out for bringing it up, Jamon flinches and apologizes, agreeing to drop it. Seongpyo urges Jamon to be honest and tell him what he really wants from him. With his lips still bleeding, Jamon struggles for words, unable to answer. Clack. The classroom door suddenly slides open, interrupting them. The teacher with light green hair appears, telling them to hurry up before class starts. Turn. The teacher invites them to the resource room at lunch before walking away. Jamon mutters under his breath, sarcastically wishing the teacher a good time waiting alone. Ring. RRING. The bell rings as the scene shifts to an overview of the school grounds. Standing outside with other students, Jamon's thoughts drift to Seongpyo. Tap. Looking at his phone, he wonders if Seongpyo is actually stupid. He decides he definitely won't go to the meeting, thinking Seongpyo can just drown in his own embarrassment. Step. Seongpyo returns to the classroom, brushing off a friend, while wondering why Jamon seemed so confident he would show up. Dicker. Jamon smiles at his phone, amused that someone as stupid as Seongpyo could be ranked second in school. Screech. A black car pulls up beside Jamon, who notes its arrival. Clack. A new, unfamiliar driver asks if he's Jamon, leaving him to wonder what happened to his regular driver. The driver explains he's the replacement as Jamon gets in, realizing his parents hadn't told him. Vroom. As the car drives off, the man explains he was hired suddenly, leaving no time to give notice. Jamon reflects on how his parents often change things without telling him, hoping his previous driver wasn't fired over his tardiness. Sigh. He sighs in frustration, tired of having decisions made for him. The scene shifts to a view of towering city skyscrapers against the night sky. Clack. Jamon enters his apartment, announcing he's home before stopping in confusion. His eyes fall on a pair of expensive men's shoes he doesn't recognize. Entering the living room, he's surprised to find two women he's never seen before sitting on the couch. Smile. A woman with long brown hair waves, welcoming Jamon home. Plop. Jamon is surprised to see his sister, who explains she stopped by to see their mom and is just leaving. He asks his sister to stay a little longer, but she seems hesitant. Tisk. Spring. His mother interrupts, telling his sister Somin to leave and ordering Jamon to go study. Step. As they walk out, Somin offers to treat him to a meal and they discuss her taking a taxi home. Wave. Jamon offers to see her off, but she whispers for him to stay, warning him that their mom is in a bad mood. Clack. Jamon stands alone in the entryway after his sister leaves. Step. As he heads for the shower, his mother stops him, questioning his poor manners and lack of concern for his sister. Frowning, his mother reveals that Somin quit her job, deliberately choosing a day their father was away. Pause. Shocked, Jamon asks what happened, and his mother complains that Somin now wants to go abroad. His mother scoffs that Somin is only going on a working holiday, calling it a waste of time and a disgrace to the family. Gazing at a family photo, she warns Jamon not to be like Somin, who she claims is overreacting to their father's words. Frowning, she cuts the conversation short, ordering him to go study, and he reluctantly agrees. Scritch, scritch, studying. At his desk, Jamon reflects on his sister's desire for independence and his mother's lack of understanding. Slump. He rests his head on his desk, overwhelmed, wondering if his sister is escaping, and if he'll have to do the same. He closes his eyes, lost in troubled thought. Lying in bed, Jamon blames Seongpyo for taking away his online outlet for frustration. Twitch. A memory surfaces of Seongpyo's taunt about him uploading revealing photos online. The memory continues with Seongpyo asking him to act like a stripper. Press. In a different memory, Seongpyo touches his own chest, wondering why he can't stop thinking about him. Their faces draw intimately close in a hazy memory. Slurp. Press. The memory culminates in a kiss. Lying in bed, a flustered Seongpyo recalls the moment. Grip. He clutches his clothes in turmoil. Glance. Seongpyo's eyes narrow with desire as he admits he wants to keep kissing him. A close-up shows Jamon's troubled expression. Jamon lies silently in his bed, facing away. Bustle. The scene shifts to the bustling school grounds the next morning. Step, step. Jamon walks through the school hall, looking dazed and distracted. Step. He continues into his classroom. A classmate greets him, noting he's late, and Jamon vaguely says something came up. FWIP. Sitting down, he distractedly asks about their first class and any homework. Pause. He hesitates over his notebook, his thoughts drifting to Seongpyo. Chatter. Nearby classmates discuss their math homework. Seongpyo quietly agrees to let his friends copy his homework later. Chatter. A friend asks Seongpyo to play basketball, questioning where he was yesterday. Glance. Seongpyo evasively says he was napping alone. Seongpyo turns and looks toward Jamon. His intense, thoughtful gaze remains fixed on him. Chatter. The classroom is filled with the low murmur of students before class. In the cafeteria, a classmate invites Jamon to the student store after lunch. Rattle. Step. Jamon declines the offer, stating he has to be somewhere else and leaves the table. Step, step. Jamon walks purposefully down an empty hallway. Step, step. Seongpyo's invitation to the resource room echoes in his mind. Frown. He questions his own decision to come. Pause. He stops, hesitating outside the teacher's resource room. Clack. Creak. He pushes the door open. Silence. The room is empty. Smirk. Seongpyo appears from the side, thinking to himself that it was obvious Jamon would show up. Creak. Deciding to take advantage of the quiet room, Seongpyo plans to get some rest. Seongpyo stands inside the resource room, facing Jamon. Blink. Jamon stares back, momentarily speechless. Seongpyo asks if he got the date wrong, reminding him he was supposed to come yesterday. Rattle. Creak. Jamon pulls out a chair, claiming he's not there for Seongpyo, but just to get some rest away from the noisy classroom, though Seongpyo questions his excuse. Outside the window, classmates chatter while playing basketball. Jamon wonders why Seongpyo isn't playing basketball and asks if he should be with his friends. Seongpyo explains that his plans with Jamon came first, surprising him with the mysterious appearance of a chair. Press. Sitting down, Jamon wonders how Seongpyo would react if he knew what he did while thinking of him last night. Chuckle. Seongpyo smirks, teasingly asking why Jamon is staring and if he actually mixed up the dates. FWIP. Flinch. Jamon dismisses the idea, annoyed by Seongpyo's smile. Seongpyo then asks what Jamon was about to say yesterday before the teacher interrupted. Jamon lies, claiming he was going to say he's sick of arguing and wants to be left alone. He internally reaffirms that this is what he wanted to tell him. Whoosh! Seongpyo suddenly leans in close, asking if they can do it now. Jamon remains silent as Seongpyo presses, asking if that's why he came. Lean. Seongpyo moves even closer, their faces just inches apart. Murmur. He asks why Jamon isn't closing his eyes, and Jamon hesitantly asks if he has to. Lean. Considering the question, Seongpyo closes the remaining distance. Kiss. Seongpyo kisses a seated Jamon, holding his face gently. Stare. Their lips meet as they gaze at each other. Grasping, Jamon clutches at his own shirt, wondering why Seongpyo is so still and not kissing him properly like last time. Lick. Seongpyo's tongue darts out, startling Jamon. Suck. He deepens the kiss, causing Jamon to gasp. Kiss. Press. Seongpyo presses Jamon's head forward, intensifying their embrace. Ha. Smooch. Lick. The kiss grows more passionate and heated. Smooch. Quiver. Their lips part as they both breathe heavily. Smirk. Seongpyo pulls back slightly, asking why Jamon is so calm today. Kiss. He cuts off Jamon's reply, with another kiss, biting his lower lip. Kiss, slurp. The sounds of their passionate kiss fill the empty resource room. They finally break apart, both breathing heavily. A close-up shows Seongpyo's intense gaze on a flushed Jamon. Ha! Jamon pants, flustered and breathless. Slide, flinch, grip. Seongpyo's hand slips down Jamon's back, causing him to protest that the area is off-limits. Grip, Jamon furiously grabs Seongpyo's hair, calling him a crazy bastard. Throb. Seongpyo complains about the sudden rejection, but Jamon clarifies their deal is only for kissing at school, which Seongpyo cheekily asks if it means they can do more elsewhere. Jolt. Jamon is shocked speechless by the suggestion. Smirk. Seongpyo teasingly calls his name, "Hey Jamon." Chills. Jamon flatly rejects the unspoken offer with a firm no. Seongpyo demands to know why, but Jamon sighs, asking why he would go there. Glare. Jamon admits that he doesn't trust him yet. Seongpyo sighs, asking when Jamon will finally start trusting him, but Jamon says he doesn't know. Whap! Jamon pushes Seongpyo's hand away, confirming they will stick to just kissing for now before telling him to move. Jamon sits down, demanding Seongpyo send him the thing, clarifying it's the compromising photo he promised. Seongpyo seems surprised he actually wants it, but Jamon insists he said he would. Seongpyo tries to bargain, asking if sending it means they can do more than kiss, but Jamon denies it, offering to take a new photo when they do. Turn. Jamon looks away, realizing Seongpyo must have planned this far in advance. Stare. Seongpyo changes the subject, asking if he knew the principal's wig flipped up. He laughs, recounting how a gust of wind exposed the principal's bald head during their basketball game. Jamon is confused by the random story about the principal. Press. Seongpyo explains they both needed to think about something else for a moment. A flustered Jamon looks down, letting out a small gasp. Turn. Seongpyo smiles at Jamon, announcing that he's heading out. Step. Jamon quickly gets up from his chair, saying he's leaving too. Step. Step. The two boys walk out of the resource room together. A view from outside the window shows Jamon sitting alone at his classroom desk. Glance. Glance. Looking around nervously, Jamon takes out his phone. Tap, tap, tap. His fingers move quickly across the screen. Tap, tap. He searches online for how to get good at kissing. Ahem. Flip. Feeling embarrassed, he quickly hides his phone inside his textbook. He worries that he should have been better prepared, thinking Seongpyo will find it weird that he keeps getting caught off guard. He nervously licks his lips while lost in thought. Blushing, he wonders if Seongpyo is a good kisser, concluding that the jerk must have a lot of experience. Press. He flashes back to the feeling of Seongpyo's hand pressing against his neck. Rub. Unable to stop thinking about it, he rubs the back of his neck. FWIP. FWIP. He scrolls to another tip about using one's tongue, thinking all the advice is the same. Click. Dismissing it as not a big deal, he locks his phone. The scene fades, transitioning through abstract, grainy panels. Press. In a dream, Seongpyo gently cups Jamon's chin. Seongpyo's thumb tenderly caresses his lower lip. Grab, yank, taking control. Jamon grabs Seongpyo's tie and pulls him in. Pop, pop. Startled by the sudden move, Seongpyo places his hands on Jamon's chest. Pop. Seongpyo orders Jamon to put his hands behind his back, insisting when Jamon questions him. FWIP. Jamon complies, clasping his hands behind his back. Lean. Seongpyo presses his body against Jamon's, who lets out a nervous breath. Lick, chomp, ack. Seongpyo licks and then bites Jamon's neck, causing him to cry out. Flush. Seongpyo smirks, asking if he likes it when it hurts, but a flustered Jamon denies it. Seongpyo proposes a bet, starting to lay out the stakes if he wins, leaving Jamon confused. Whisper. Whisper. He leans in and whispers the terms of the bet into Jamon's ear. Blush. Jamon is left completely stunned and blushing by the secret proposal. Slide. Seongpyo clarifies that Jamon will lose if he moves his arms from behind his back or gives up. Press. His hand moves down and presses against Jamon's crotch, making him gasp. Jolt. The dream is suddenly shattered by a voice yelling Seongpyo's name. A friend finds Seongpyo whimpering on the couch, asking if he's sick. He wakes up, explaining he must have dozed off. Dazed, he agrees to his friend's suggestion to sleep in his room and lies down on his bed. FWIP. Lying on his side, he examines his hand, wondering why it looks strange to him. He wonders if the strange feeling is because of the dream he just had. Spring. He jolts upright in bed, his face flushed with sudden realization. Looking down at his lap, he thinks to himself that something feels icky. Tug. Now sitting on the couch, he silently tugs at his pants with a conflicted expression. The scene shifts to him standing under a hot shower. He reasons that it's normal to have a dream like that after kissing someone. Swish. As he washes his hair, he complains the dream was too raunchy and wonders if Jamon's perverted ways are rubbing off on him. Clench, he recalls the intimate details of the dream, admitting to himself that it wasn't that bad. Smile. A small, satisfied smile touches his lips in the shower. At school, a friend complains to Seongpyo that they lost a game because of him. Bicker, his friends argue loudly amongst themselves, blaming each other for the loss. Glance, Seongpyo suggests a one-on-one match to settle it, with the winner getting to be worshipped. As his friends agree to the bet, Seongpyo inwardly complains that he wants to see Jamin, but their seats are too far apart. Looking at his phone, he realizes he can't even message Jamin because he doesn't have his number. He tells his friends he's going to the bathroom, ignoring one who jokingly asks if he needs to poop. Tap, tap, a finger drums impatiently on the wooden desk. Jamin looks down with a contemplative, somber expression. Tilt, Seongpyo leans over Jamin's desk, invading his personal space. Step, step, Seongpyo walks toward the classroom door as Jamin watches silently. Creak, as Jamin gets up to follow. Seongpyo glances back with a knowing smirk. Clack, Seongpyo opens the door to the hallway. In the resource room, Seongpyo confronts Jamin, asking if his innocent act is supposed to fool him. Seongpyo suggests they kiss now instead of waiting for lunch, but Jamin sighs, questioning the morning timing. Jamin inwardly agrees, realizing that disappearing together at lunch would look suspicious, especially with Seongpyo's popularity. Grasping, Seongpyo takes Jamin's chin, urging him to hurry so they won't be late for class. Their lips meet in a tender, close-up kiss. Clunk, their kiss is interrupted by a sound in the resource room. Rattle. Wham. Someone tries the locked door, and a panicked Jamin shoves Seongpyo away, making him cry out. Crash. Seongpyo complains about the overreaction since he locked the door, while Jamin apologizes for being startled. Outside, a voice asks why the door is locked. A teacher appears at the door, questioning their presence. Seongpyo casually greets him as Jamin looks on nervously. Jamin smoothly explains they just needed a quiet place to talk, apologizing for using the room without permission. The teacher questions why they locked the door and tells them to head to class, while Seongpyo asks Jamin to help him with some papers. Step, step. The two boys walk out of the resource room together down the hall. Thump, thump. Jamin's heart pounds in his chest as he decides they shouldn't use the resource room anymore. Seongpyo sighs dramatically, complaining about how hard it is to find a private place to make out. Glaring, Jamin asks why he was called out so early. Seongpyo cheekily claims a morning session will help him focus in class. A blushing Jamin mutters to himself, "Focus, my ass." Pause. Seongpyo stops at the classroom door and calls Jamin's name. Glancing back, he promises to see Jamin during their break. A friend teases Seongpyo for taking so long in the bathroom, and he tells him to screw off as Jamin watches with a blush. Seongpyo's face darkens as he internally curses the situation. A teacher asks Jamin to come to the faculty room during his break, and he agrees. Classmates crowd Jamin's desk, asking for help with a question, leaving him flustered but compliant. Slump. At the gym, Seongpyo collapses in frustration, realizing Jamin has no free time during 5th period. Fweet! Another player blows a whistle, ordering Seongpyo to stop slacking and get back to practice. Whisper, whisper. Students in the gym discuss their basketball team, suggesting Seongpyo and Jamin should definitely play. A teammate praises Jamin's basketball skills, crediting him and Seongpyo for their class's advantage, though Jamin seems hesitant. When a teammate suggests the two tall boys play center, Seongpyo internally bristles at the thought of Jamin having physical contact with other guys. Seongpyo declares he'll play point guard, insisting it would be a waste to put Jamin under the basket. The other players are confused by his decision, pointing out that Seongpyo's height is unusual for a point guard. Seongpyo lays out his plan. He will pass the ball to Jamin, who will focus on finding open spaces and shooting. Staring intently, Seongpyo thinks the strategy could work and suggests a bet to make the game more fun. Jamin voices his concern about being out of practice, but Seongpyo reassures him that he'll be fine once he starts playing. A teammate calls out that practice is over and it's time for the match to begin. Fweet. As the game starts, two opponents express confusion over their team's unexpected formation with Jamin not at center. Tap. A player makes a sharp pivot on the court as someone shouts, "Block him!" Toss. Seongpyo takes a shot, confidently taunting the other team for making it easy for him. Jamon catches the basketball with a look of fierce concentration. Whoosh! He launches the ball toward the hoop. Clunk! The ball sinks through the net as a teammate thinks how well Seongpyo draws the defense. Dash, slap. A teammate enthusiastically high-fives Jamon, calling him a genius for playing so well without practice. Tap! Smiling, Jamon returns the high five, humbly chalking it up to luck. FWIP. Seongpyo silently gestures to Jamon, asking for a high five. Jamon gives a blank stare before a chibi version of him nervously asks, "Seriously?" Seongpyo presses him, asking why he won't do it, causing a blushing Jamon to turn away silently. Blushing, Jamon tells someone to keep doing as he says, complimenting their performance. Tap. Jamon gently touches Seongpyo's shoulder from behind. Dash. Seongpyo sprints away with a confident smile. Jamon looks down at Seongpyo, blushing and momentarily speechless. Glancing, holding a basketball, Seongpyo eyes the opposing players on the court. Dash, a rival player, wonders how Seongpyo managed to get so far into their territory. A surprised player gasps as Jamon suddenly appears and intercepts a toss ball. Whoosh! Jamon jumps for a shot as Seongpyo leaps to block him. Fweet! The whistle blows as the scoreboard shows a lopsided score of 29-15. A teammate scolds Jamon for focusing only on Seongpyo while they're losing, but Jamon insists he can't let him score. Seongpyo's teammate warns him that Jamon is the real problem, always being in the perfect position for a pass. His other teammates complain to Seongpyo, asking why he is only passing to Jamon when they are also open for a shot. Ugh. Seongpyo turns to his frustrated teammates and tells them it's their fault too. He explains that Jamon is always in the best position, but his teammates still argue he could have passed to them at least once. A classmate sarcastically asks if Seongpyo is playing favorites with the top student, and Jamon just smiles smugly. Seongpyo looks taken aback, realizing Jamon enjoys being complimented like anyone else. A teammate points out that the opposing team is weak, especially on Jamon's side of the court. Tap! Jamon dribbles the ball as his opponents realize he's scoring all the points and that his team is setting up another pass. Holding the ball, Seongpyo watches Jamon move into an open spot, contemplating a risky pass. A close-up of Seongpyo's determined eye reveals he's made a decision. Jamon leaps and catches the ball perfectly, exclaiming his approval. Watching from the sidelines, students are impressed by Jamon's feint, wondering if he was ever truly a beginner. Clap. Seongpyo gives Jamon a high five for the great pass, thinking to himself that this is incredibly fun. Laughing, Seongpyo puts his arm around Jamon, thinking about how serious his rival is. The final scoreboard shows a decisive victory, 72-34, as someone calls the game. The winning team celebrates their skill and how much fun the game was. The losing team looks dejected as a teammate tries to console them, saying the other team was full of pros. Fweet! The coach blows his whistle, announcing that the winning class has to clean up the equipment. The team boos in protest, but the coach explains it's fair since they won. As the players begin cleaning up, one asks for a ball to be tossed to him while another sighs. A teammate laments Seongpyo's wasted basketball talent, but Seongpyo dismisses sports as just a hobby. Seongpyo volunteers to take the ball carts to storage, and a friend suggests someone should go help him. FWIP, Seongpyo gives a thumbs up and asks Jamon if he wants to come along. Surprised, Jamon agrees to go with him. Their teammates wave them off, saying the dominant winners should be the ones to clean up. As the rest of the team leaves, they happily make plans to go to the student store. Rattle, Seongpyo pushes a cart into a room and tells Jamon to hurry, who follows silently behind. Inside the storage room, Jamon asks if they can just leave the equipment there. Whoosh! Seongpyo suddenly turns and pulls a surprised Jamon into an embrace. Kiss! He gently kisses Jamon's cheek, holding his face in his hand. Jamon asks what he's doing, and a flustered Seongpyo claims he was in a rush and kissed the wrong spot by accident. Seongpyo compliments Jamon's basketball skills, to which Jamon confidently replies, "I know, WAP." Jamon angrily slaps his hand away, declaring that his skill is his own and refusing to thank Seongpyo for it. They bicker, with Seongpyo claiming credit for the passes and Jamon retorting that Seongpyo himself admitted it was because he was always in a good position. Sighing, Seongpyo calls him unbelievable while gripping his shoulder. Swoosh! The two begin to tussle with each other in the storage room. Nibble, Seongpyo decides to shut him up, leaning in and gently biting Jamon's lip. Kiss, he follows up with a deep kiss, causing Jamon's hand to twitch in surprise. Reach, he deepens the smooch, his hand moving to gently cradle the back of Jamon's neck. Kiss, smooch. As they kiss, Seongpyo thinks about how stiff and inexperienced Jamon seems. Twitch as their kiss deepens. Seongpyo smirks, thinking this works out for him. Slurp. Ha! Overwhelmed by the passionate kiss, a blushing Jamon wonders how long it will last. Reach. Seongpyo's hand moves up to cup the back of Jamon's neck. Press, he pins Jamon against the wall by his wrists, continuing their intense kiss. They continue kissing while pressed against the storage room door. Hwa. Gasping for air, Jamon breaks the kiss and tells him to let go. Chomp. Seongpyo playfully bites Jamon's finger, making him yelp. Rub, nuzzling his neck. Seongpyo feigns ignorance, as Jamon reminds him of his promise not to do this at school. FWIP. Seongpyo lets go, lamenting that their break is almost over. Ha! Sliding down the wall, Jamon catches his breath, complaining that the kiss went on too long. Reach. Seongpyo grabs his wrist, telling him it's time to go back to class. Stopping him, Seongpyo calls out Jamon's name, but Jamon insists they're out of time. Sigh. Seongpyo asks when they can do more than just kiss, and Jamon admits he doesn't know. With a sly grin, Seongpyo proposes they make a bet. Jamon asks what kind of bet, and Seongpyo complains he's tired of waiting for him to be ready. When Jamon asks what he wants, Seongpyo smirks and mentions the upcoming midterms. Seongpyo lays out the terms. If he beats Jamon in the exams, he gets to go further. In the empty gym, Seongpyo's voice echoes, asking why Jamon isn't answering. He taunts Jamon with a smile, asking if he's not feeling confident. Smirk, Jamon scoffs, saying he was just surprised Seongpyo didn't know his own place. Grr. Seongpyo seethes with anger, surrounded by a dark aura. In a flashback, a student with glasses makes a bet on a basketball game, while Jamon thinks his odds are better in academics. Jamon recalls that because basketball was a team game, there was at least a slim chance of winning. Grr. Back in the present, Seongpyo glares as Jamon argues their grades aren't that different. Smirk. Jamon smugly reminds him that he never beat him once last year. Seongpyo thinks about how much he wants to shut Jamon's mouth, admitting he would have punched him in the past. Now genuinely intrigued, Seongpyo says he really wants to make the bet. Jamon asks what happens if he wins, and Seongpyo lets him set the terms. Stating he isn't ready for more than kissing, Jamon tells him to bet something else. Seongpyo makes his demand. Send me a video. Okay, I will read the text back to you. Jamon is shocked by the request, as Seongpyo refuses to change the terms, making Jamon realize he wants much more than just a voice recording. Stare. As Seongpyo looks on impassively, Jamon thinks he's trying to make him give up the bet. Smirk. Wondering if Seongpyo is bluffing, Jamon decides to accept the challenge. VRRR. Suddenly, Seongpyo's phone starts vibrating insistently. VR texts flood in from a friend, warning him that the teacher is coming and asking if he's locked in the storage room. Grab, step. As Jamon tries to leave, Seongpyo grabs his wrist, telling him to back out if he's not confident. Step. Jamon clarifies, it's not about confidence, but a lack of time. FWIP. Seongpyo asks for his number to continue the conversation, but Jamon refuses to discuss it over the phone. Turn. Calling him nitpicky, Seongpyo leaves first, telling Jamon to follow or not. The scene transitions to an apartment building at night. Plop. Later at home, Seongpyo sits on his bed, frustrated that their conversation was cut short. Flump. He falls back onto his bed, sighing that he should have insisted on getting Jamon's number. Glancing, deciding to make lunch plans, he picks up his phone. FWIP. He scrolls aimlessly, finding nothing of interest. Ding, a notification appears. A new unknown account has started following him. FWIP. He checks the private profile, betting 12, and suspects it's an illegal gambling bot. Mulling over the name, he connects betting 1 and 2 to their bet. Spring. Ding. He jolts upright as a follow request appears, a look of sudden realization on his face. Tap. Tap. Through the betting 12 account, Seongpyo asks why they're using this instead of texting. At home, Jamon thinks Seongpyo is shady but also experienced with perverts, so he likely knows more than him. Jolt. Blushing, he realizes he lost his first kiss to a pervert but can't back down from this opportunity. VRR. His phone buzzes with Seongpyo's explicit messages, wanting to kiss him elsewhere and do this and that. Hiding under his blanket, Jamon reads the messages and murmurs that Seongpyo is a crazy bastard. Gasp! He clutches his phone in shock under the covers. VRR. More messages arrive from Seongpyo, who specifies he wants to see him do it from the back. Jamon stares at his phone in disbelief, wondering if he's being serious. He rationalizes that many others have made similar requests to Seongpyo, so it might not be that unreasonable. Holding his own phone, Seongpyo ponders why he wants to see it, admitting he hasn't given it much thought. Ding. He decides it would be boring to ask for something Jamon's already done, just as a message comes in. Heh. Reading the new message, Seongpyo smirks in amusement. Ding. Jamon's message explains that the gap between their levels makes the request fair. Tap, tap. Seongpyo reads Jamon's compromise. They can agree on no face in the video. Smirk. He types a simple response. Nice. Drag. Pushing his chair back, Seongpyo gets focused, vowing to win the midterm bet and knock Jamon off his high horse. At school, Seongpyo tells his friends to stop gathering around his desk to chat. His friends question his sudden focus on studying, reminding him that midterms are far off and he always crams last minute. Seongpyo smirks, claiming he's outgrown cramming, and asks them to stop seeing him as a kid. A friend asks if he's skipping their game tonight, and Seongpyo confirms he won't play until exams are over. Whisper, his friends gossip about how fired up he gets for exams, but note he's starting exceptionally early this time. One of the friends says he thinks he understands why, glancing toward Jamon, who is already studying intently. They muse that while Seongpyo's 2-year quest to beat the top student is intense, his openness about it makes him seem more human. Nod, nod. His friends suddenly praise him, calling him a good guy, leaving Seongpyo confused. Step. They wish him good luck and walk away, leaving a baffled Seongpyo to his studies. A classmate with blonde hair waves to Seongpyo, suggesting they go to the snack bar since lunch sucks. Grasp, Jamon intervenes, telling the student not to bother Seongpyo while he is studying, which shocks the student. Chatter, students whisper about how both Seongpyo and Jamon have become super intense lately, even though they usually cram. A student sighs that he can't keep up with the top two, commenting that there's no stopping a genius who actually tries. Step, deciding to leave him be, the students go to the snack bar as Seongpyo focuses on his work. The scene shifts to a view of city apartments at night. Scribble, Seongpyo studies diligently at his desk by the window. Knock, knock. A knock at the door interrupts him. Swing, his brother enters, asking if he wants to order pizza. Wave, Seongpyo dismisses him without looking up, saying he's studying and doesn't want any. Gra, his annoyed brother, calls him a punk for getting worked up, and Seongpyo yells back to shut up. Slam, alone again. Seongpyo sighs that Jamon's house must be quiet, leaving him at a disadvantage. He smirks to himself, thinking the difficult environment will only make his victory sweeter. Elsewhere, Jamon studies, thinking he just wants to see Seongpyo squirm and apologize for his absurd request. Press. He focuses on his notes, determined to win the bet. His brother peeks in again to ask about pizza, and an angry Seongpyo yells that he doesn't want any. Yawn. Back at school, students complain about changing classrooms as they walk down the stairs. Step, Seongpyo approaches a focused Jamon, asking when and where they'll do it today. Stare, Jamon gives him a cold look, flatly stating he doesn't have time. He shows Seongpyo his packed schedule, explaining he has no time to mess around until exams are over. Chuckle. Jamon smirks, asking if he looks like someone who will help relieve his stress and calling him a pervert. Grr. Seongpyo shoots back that Jamon is the pervert and reminds him whose idea this all was. Seongpyo fumes, regretting not including making out in their bet and suspecting Jamon is avoiding him on purpose. Chills, he warns Jamon not to make another weird account, causing Jamon to snap, asking when he'll stop mocking him. FWIP, step. As Jamon turns and walks away, a flustered Seongpyo calls out that he didn't mean it like that. Scratch. A frustrated Seongpyo runs a hand through his hair. The scene shifts to the school as a month passes by. Step. Inside the classroom, their teacher announces a study hall for the next day's exams and dismisses the class, having not seen Seongpyo or Jamon meet up. Seongpyo approaches a studying Jamon, asking why he's taking this so far and if he's really okay without any physical contact. Chuckle. Jamon smirks, admitting that watching Seongpyo lose his mind is a great stress reliever. Frowning, Seongpyo thinks Jamon is a pervert as Jamon coldly tells him to leave, calling him a distraction. Seongpyo smirks at his desk, realizing Jamon's taunts have only fueled his desire to study harder. Though sometimes, he admits, he couldn't hold back and had to let loose while looking at his phone. A classmate interrupts Seongpyo's studying to ask for some pencil lead. Gasp! The classmate recoils in shock. yelling that Seongpyo's nose is bleeding. Drip. As blood runs from his nose, his friend frantically calls for tissues. Wipe, pressing his hand to his nose. Seongpyo realizes it's the first time he's ever gotten a nosebleed from studying. FWIP, a friend hands him tissues, asking if he's overdoing it, and Seongpyo thanks him. Glancing, he presses the tissue to his nose, his eyes shifting to the side. He looks over at Jamon, who appears concerned. Seongpyo casually tells his friend it's just from pent-up heat. The friend notes he hasn't been playing basketball lately, and suggests a game after exams, as Jamon quietly leaves in the background. Scritch. During the exam, the teacher warns students against cheating. Scribble. Both Jamon and Seongpyo focus intently on their test papers. Scribble. Seongpyo continues to write, completely absorbed in the exam. The scene transitions to an academic building at night. Stretch. After the exams, Seongpyo stretches in an empty classroom, complaining about his exhaustion. His friends ask about his score, and his vague answer that it was the same as usual raises their suspicion. Spring. He suddenly stands up, telling a surprised Jamon he's going to the bathroom. Step. As he leaves, his friends gossip that he must have bombed the test while assuming Jamon did well. Droop. In the hallway, Seongpyo's shoulders slump in defeat. Snicker, but then a sly smile spreads across his face as he realizes he only missed one question and has a real chance to win. Entering a classroom, he overhears a girl asking Jamon about his scores, wondering what he got. Jamon smugly replies that he thinks he only got one wrong. Twitch. Seongpyo's eye twitches as the horrifying possibility of a tie dawns on him. A girl calls out to Seongpyo, asking if he did well, but he walks past, lost in thought. Flinch. Seongpyo announces he also missed one, making Jamon visibly startle as the girl celebrates their high scores. The girl praises them both for working so hard, and Jamon quietly thanks her. An awkward silence falls between the two rivals. Seongpyo breaks the tension, asking which question Jamon got wrong. They trade subjects, and Seongpyo presses to know the point value of Jamon's incorrect answer first. Jamon reveals his missed question was worth 3 points. He stares in disbelief at Seongpyo's reaction. Grip. Jamon's hand clenches into a tight fist. They stand facing each other in the now silent hallway. Smirk. Seongpyo wonders at Jamon's tense reaction, thinking he might have actually won. Jamon quietly admits his question was worth the same amount. Tisk. Seongpyo thinks to himself that of course it would end this way. Jamon anxiously asks what happens in a tie, and Seongpyo dismisses it, saying they'll both just not do the bet. Shrug. He casually remarks that bets are supposed to be for fun anyway. He notes that at least their grades improved, and Jamon will likely be ranked first again. Smirk. He adds the final twist. It will be a joint first place. Twitch. Jamon clenches his arm, visibly annoyed by the outcome. Jamon suggests they wait for the official scores and talk again tomorrow. Step. Announcing he's leaving, Jamon turns and walks away. Creak. A student with dark hair and a backpack opens a door. Clack. Jamon leans against the wall, looking tired after his exams. Step. A woman in a green apron greets him, noting he must be tired from his last day of exams. Jamon dismisses her concern, saying it's nothing new, and declines her offer of a snack, mentioning the professors won't be back until dinner. He politely thanks the woman as she offers to make him something if he gets hungry. Shaw. Later, as rain falls outside, Jamon sits on his bed in his pajamas, reviewing a paper. He stares at his English test, noticing a question has been marked incorrect. A red line marks an answer wrong on his English test paper. Slump, sighing in disbelief, Jamon puts his head in his hands, lamenting that he lost to Seongpyo. He berates himself for second-guessing a multiple-choice question on a simple school test. Crumple. He crushes the test paper in his hand, frustrated that it all came down to one question. Smirking unhappily, he recalls their promise to make the video clearly visible and thinks losing to Seongpyo is even worse. Creak. He lies back on his bed, letting out an exasperated sigh. Press. Clenching his fists, he mutters to himself about how annoying the situation is. Shaw. Rain continues to stream down the window pane. Spring. He suddenly sits up, realizing the final scores aren't out yet, and that Seongpyo could have made a different mistake. As rain pours, he resolves to get a grip and look at the question one more time. Chatter. Outside classroom 2 to 3, a student asks another if they've heard the news. Inside, one student tells another that Seongpyo only got one question wrong on the entire exam, which was confirmed at his academy. Bustle. Seongpyo's friends crowd around his desk, excitedly asking if he's taking first place. and if Jamon really missed the same question. Scratch, Seongkyo smirks nonchalantly, claiming he doesn't know which question Jamon got wrong, and that it was on a different subject. As his friends congratulate him and plan a trip to the PC cafe, Jamon stands by the door, overhearing everything. Step, walking down the hall, Jamon sighs, realizing everyone is already gossiping, and worries they'll mock him if they find out he lost by 0.2 points. A teacher greets Jamon, congratulating him on working hard during the exams. Jamon watches the teacher walk away, a thoughtful expression on his face. Rush, he suddenly calls out, running to catch up with the teacher. Jolt, Jamon tells his teacher he thinks there might be something wrong with question 10 on the midterm, startling the man as Jamon resolves to do anything to get out of the bet. The teacher asks what's wrong with it and suggests they go to the teacher's office to take a look. Whisper, in the classroom, students notice the English teacher looks angry and wonder if the class average was low, but another points out that with Seongpyo and Jamon, it should be super high. At the front of the class, the teacher asks everyone to settle down. Sighing, the teacher announces a slight error was found in question 10 of the English exam, explaining that while number 3 is the right answer, number 4 cannot be considered completely wrong. Ta-da! The teacher announces with a flourish that anyone who chose number 4 will also be marked correct. Whoa! The classroom erupts in cheers as students celebrate getting the question right. Clap, clap, the teacher reveals Jamon was the only one in school to point out the error, prompting the class to applaud him for raising their average. Fidget. An embarrassed Jamon laughs awkwardly, telling a classmate the teacher didn't have to tell everyone it was him. Sweat. He thinks to himself that while he'd normally let it go, getting the question mark correct means he'll achieve a perfect score. A confident smile spreads across Jamon's face as he realizes he'll beat Seongpyo, while Seongpyo just sighs. The teacher says he'll go over questions before class, but a student groans, asking for a break instead. FWIP, as the teacher scolds the students, Seongpyo raises his hand to get his attention. Seongpyo challenges the ruling, arguing that if a multiple-choice question has one ambiguous answer and one clear one, only the clear one should be correct. He explains that he was also confused by the two answers, but chose the definite one, pointing out that others likely noticed the issue too. Chatter. Other students agree with Seongpyo, worrying that their ranks will drop and calling the situation unfair. The teacher acknowledges their point, but explains the decision was made with other teachers and that even college entrance exams sometimes have multiple correct answers. Bowing, the teacher apologizes to the class, admitting it was an error in the question's wording and promising it won't happen again. Murmur, Seongpyo looks away, muttering that he wasn't trying to get an apology from the teacher. The teacher's mood brightens instantly, telling number 1 to get their test papers out, which surprises the students. Alone at his desk, Jamon reflects that he's never been so desperate to win, even going to a teacher just to beat Seongpyo. He reconsiders his view of Seongpyo, realizing the guy's taking their bet seriously, instead of just being a brat with an inferiority complex. Grit. Clenching his jaw, he thinks to himself that he definitely won, but his expression is tense,